Welcome back to an unexpected episode of Autodidactica. This is Trumpsterfire, the Fascist Oligarchy Special, and I am one of your hosts, Glenn Clark.
I am the other host, Matt Paul.
Here we are. We're in the second Trump administration. One of the things, like we've already started filming or recording season two, but the first episode we recorded will come up after this one because one of the things we decided when we were planning out season two was that we wanted to do special episodes here and there when there's something going on in the world that is noteworthy that needs to be discussed because we do like to talk about the issues.
And how they impact our views on society, which is all about what we're all about here at Autodidactica is the shapings of our world, and our
Right.
world is being shaped.
Definitely. I don't know what that shape is.
It's a
Kind of
rhombi
looks like,
dodecahedron.
yeah. I don't know. It kind of looks like that spaceship the Amazon guy made that looked like a dick.
Yeah, it looked
Bezos.
rather phallic.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Okay, so
We are two
going into
weeks
this
in.
episode, yeah, 2 weeks into the Trumpster fire, and while that is a very biased thing to say, one of the things that I think is important is to not be alarmist with all of this. Like, we want to look at what's going on from the inauguration to right now, but we, as autodidacts, we are not experts. We've done what research we could do in time to get this up in a timely manner,
Yeah,
but fact check us because we're going to try
we
very
have
hard
jobs.
not to. Yeah, we have jobs. So it's really
Yeah, shockingly, we don't get paid very much for doing Autodidactica.
yeah,
And
like
by very much, I
nothing.
mean nothing.
Nothing
So
at all.
we are
I
the the
think
the hardworking Americans that the politicians like to refer to
and
um, and
destroy
and make decisions for
and steal
with
from.
yeah.
I'm
So
not bitter.
we have this is an opinion piece. Like it will largely end up being so. But we will also be giving our opinions on the facts, like as
Right.
in
We'll be giving opinions on the facts, but we're going to be
implications.
discussing the facts.
Yes, and implications going forward, and
Hmm.
how we view what the impact of current events will be on the world going forward. So
Right.
we're gonna do our best here to remain unbiased in a delving into of the facts and what has
Right.
happened.
Right. And so, with that in mind, please call us out if you feel we get something wrong. It's a sign of intelligence and strength, and to be able to say, I stand corrected, because then you're not wrong anymore. So if we get something wrong, let us know in the comments down on YouTube, or you can email us if you're listening to the podcast at autodidacticapodcast@gmail.com. And the way we're gonna should we go kind of just give people kind of a basic outline of what we're gonna talk about so that they can skip around if they want? Because I don't know. This might be a
Yeah,
long
I
one.
mean, absolutely. I mean, we have a plan for this episode. We don't have a script.
Right.
No Autodidactica is scripted.
Never.
We have a little bit of a outline for what we're going to go over.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I think it's totally fine to share that with the listeners going forward about what we're going
Okay.
to be focusing on because there's a lot to focus on.
Right. I
And
mean, yeah, because we can't talk about all of it. There's so much, and every day. Like we are recording this on January 31st,
yes,
and it'll be a day or two before it goes up because I've got to edit it. I'm going to try to get it up tomorrow.
yeah, no, it's there's a lot happening and
Yes, there's
there's a lot to
right.
cover and we are not a 24-hour live coverage channel.
Right, which is what I was thinking when I was like trying to make notes on all of our outline bullet points for what we want to talk about. Like and things were happening as I was researching. More crazy was going on. So I was thinking we would literally have to be a 24-hour news channel to
Yeah,
really get into all of it. So
with more
some
staff
things,
than two people
oh yeah, way more
with
staff.
second jobs.
Yeah, for real. So we're gonna do our best. We're not gonna have all the details, but we might even be looking things up as we go.
Yeah,
Because when we do that anyway, especially Matt, he
yeah,
likes to be
stat guy.
stats guy. But yeah, so but basically though, our outline is we're gonna talk about the inauguration. We're going to talk about Trump's cabinet picks. We're going to talk about the firings, and we're going to talk about the executive orders. We're going to talk about foreign policy,
Slash
and
international response.
right. And we're going to talk about the press and the media response. And that's pretty much in that order how we're going to be tackling what's going on right now as we record this. What is going on in America?
And what it
Um,
means for you and me.
yeah, so and since we are calling this the fascist oligarchy special, one thing I wanted to do up front is read the Merriam-Webster definition of fascism and oligarchy, just so we are all on the same page
Hello,
about
stats
that.
guy.
Right, I stole your job. You did. Uh, so fascism, two definitions. One, a populist political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual, that is associated with a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, and that is characterized by severe economic and social regimentation and by forcible suppression of opposition. Sound familiar?
Interesting.
Yeah, and two, a tendency toward or actual exercise of strong autocratic or dictatorial control. And the definition of oligarchy, there's three. One, government by the few. Two, a government in which a small group exercises control, especially for corrupt and selfish purposes. And three, an organization under oligarchic control, which I think is self-explanatory. Of course, an oligarchy is under oligarchic control. But being a small group, that can be like celebrities, the rich, the military. There can be a
Yeah,
military oligarchy. And we're looking at the wealthy pretty much. Like
yeah,
wealthy, the billionaires mostly,
yeah.
but
The I
so
mean,
Christian nationalists, but
yeah, the oligarchy has been here. The oligarchy
yeah.
is nothing new and doesn't get ousted with a change in party majority or you know party held offices or things like that. The
Mhm.
what's really new here is the shift towards fascism.
Right. Right. For real. It's like the oligarchy and the oligarchs and the fascists have gotten married
Yes, they have
and
intertwined.
taken over the government. Um, so yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about where this begins, which is the inauguration. I have the standard for myself that I force myself to watch these things. I always want to hear politicians say things in their own words in context before it's eaten up and chopped up and spread around as out of context memes. But I put off watching this one because I didn't want to. I literally just watched the inauguration finally
I watched it on two times
before,
speed.
like right before this. Right, you watched it the other day too. Neither one of us watched it in live, but we did watch it unedited. Um,
And
with
you know what
you
I
in
was doing
two
during the
times
inauguration?
speed.
Working.
Right. See, my job doesn't really lend itself to watching things, my day job. So it's the
Yeah, I
last
knew that
thing I
if
want to
I
do with my free time is watch that mess. Fuck.
exactly, exactly.
uh,
Oh man. Yeah, no,
but
and
it
I mean
was
I can watch
interesting.
videos, but I knew that I was gonna get fired up. So while
Right.
I was working, and that's the last thing that I need is get fired up over something other than my work.
Right. Right. Oh well, anyway. Anyway, so here we are. The inauguration happened on January 20th. So
Martin Luther King Day.
let's Martin Luther King Day, and oh man, yeah, he said things about that.
Yeah, he said that he was going to complete the dream.
oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure Martin Luther King was not dreaming about that. He was not dreaming that one day a white supremacist who wants a quote unquote colorblind meritocracy. These are things that I don't know if he knows the word meritocracy, but he said based on merit. I have a note in here somewhere, but that's really just code for white supremacist. You know, like what he said with the airline crash thing, like blaming things on policies of
DEI.
equality, like instead of
Yeah.
merit. Well, that just implies that if you hire someone brown or gay or whatever, that they are less meritorious. Is that a word? I hope so, because I just said it.
Yes now.
Than people who are white. Like you should, if
Right.
you hire people based on merit instead of race, like they're not, you can't possibly hire a qualified person if you are hiring under an umbrella of equality. There couldn't possibly be equally qualified black people.
Right.
So like that's why when they say merit based
It
instead
sets
of,
a bad precedent.
oh yeah,
It sets
he's the
an awful
president of bad
precedent.
precedents.
Yes, he is. And yeah, so I mean the implication is right there for everybody to see.
Yeah, yeah. So you took notes, right? You have
I
notes.
did. I have
Do
so
they?
many notes on
Because
the inauguration.
we can go. Because if you wrote your notes, I'm putting on my eyeballs here. If because I
Give me
mean, mine go in order of his speech. Because well, I mean, the first thing that I think is just kind of funny is that they charged the MAGA folks a ton of money to get tickets to come see this thing. And then they canceled it, the outdoor inauguration. It's usually outdoors. And they said it was because of the weather, though many presidents have been inaugurated outside in the exact same or worse weather. But it was because pretty much that there weren't going to be many people there and they didn't want any side by side comparisons like last time.
yeah,
Like how many people were there for Obama's versus Trump's, and then they have to lie and say that it was photoshopped. Um, but yeah, they moved it inside, and then they screwed over the Trump. So that was the first time in this term that they screwed over the Trump supporters directly, is because they just sent an email and said, "Oh, you'll still receive your commemorative ticket in the mail, but
Hmm.
you can't come. You can't be here. Only the billionaires can." And we'll be inside. Too bad if you spent all that money to make the trip up here. You're not coming in, but we're keeping your money and sending you a commemorative ticket, a symbolic ticket that you were here in spirit and gave us your money.
That's crazy. I mean, do you have to pay to go see them? Like, do you have to buy tickets? Did they get
I
at
don't
least
know.
refunded for the tickets?
No, they're sending them commemorative tickets. They may have offered a refund, or you can get your commemorative ticket that you paid for.
Yeah, some
But I mean,
Democratic lawmaker told people to cancel your room just the day before.
right. Right. I
Tickets
mean,
will now
because
just be souvenirs.
right,
Crazy.
commemorative yeah, it's insane. Like, can you imagine if you had bought a ticket to this and you were so excited? Like if you were gonna go see your favorite band or something, and they're just like, "Oh, well, we're gonna go play for our rich friends instead, and you guys aren't allowed, but thanks for buying the tickets, and here's a souvenir. You can have a printed ticket to nothing, a commemoration of the time we ripped you off."
Now, to be
Um,
fair, I'd be hard pressed to like Jesus Christ himself could get elected to presidential office, and if you tell me it's 17 degrees outside to go watch him, I'm probably my Texas self is probably not budging from my heated
right.
house.
Yeah, yeah, that's a little bit cold.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
do well with that. But still, yeah, I mean, other people have done it, and some people are that passionate about it. Let them stand out
right,
there.
right.
Trump was afraid of catching a cold, I guess.
No, he was
Uh,
afraid of catching a
yeah,
small crowd on camera,
yeah.
is what he was afraid of, in my opinion. In my opinion. Um, but yeah, so what's your first note
My
on
first note was I found the opening quite ironic.
Do
Um,
Tell?
just that a lot of the initial speakers
Hmm.
that they had, I don't have their names listed, but they were really hammering home that this election or this inauguration ceremony was going to be focused on our lasting democracy
Ah,
and
okay, yeah.
defending our Constitution.
See,
And
I didn't watch the opening acts. I just
yeah,
just watched the main one. So I'm interested to hear
that was
about
the
that.
that was the focus. There were several presidents present for the inauguration.
Which is
Um,
tradition.
yeah, and I don't know if that's a record or something for how many living presidents show up to inaugurations.
Hmm.
I don't know what the record is for that. It largely has
I'm
to do
not
with
sure.
lifespan, you
Right,
know.
and we just lost Jimmy Carter.
Yeah,
Um,
which Trump was not happy about.
oh yeah, he was pissed that the flags were going to be flown at half mast. And I
Because
didn't notice.
I didn't know that either. But apparently that's a thing. Anytime a former sitting president dies, the flags are flown at half mast for the entire month.
Right, 30 days. And so then Trump tried to say it was a disgrace and that, like Biden's doing this to humiliate him. It's like, no, motherfucker. Jimmy Carter
It's
died. This is
yeah.
tradition. This is respect. They'll do the same thing for him.
So I mean, I didn't know that because I was just at IKEA one day. I was like, why are the flags at half mast? And I
Right.
looked it up, and Courtney was like, "Is it because Trump got elected?" And I was like,
No, but I do think it's like, if I were writing a work of fiction, it's
"Yeah,
some beautiful symbolic imagery.
yeah, it is." That as soon as the month in which he takes office, we're gonna fly flags at half mast for the entire month,
Right, right.
mourning for America.
I think
But
they're
yeah,
back up now. Are they back up now?
I do not know.
Okay.
I don't leave
Well,
my
I mean,
house.
I think it's been 30 days, but yeah,
But yeah, so the opening was all about
I could be
enduring
wrong. Actually, I am wrong.
democracy, there because
Uh,
Clinton was there, and then Bush and Obama, and then
okay.
Biden as well.
Hmm.
So four former presidents were there. Yeah, I
Which
just found
shows
it.
grace.
Yeah, it does.
Like, didn't Trump skip Biden's inauguration?
Nah, I don't know, probably.
Yeah, it sounds like something he would do.
Yeah, no, he did.
He did. Yeah,
Yeah,
see,
Trump
and
Trump
that's
was
the
not
kind of
present
guy he
for
is.
Biden's inauguration.
Whereas Biden, I mean, who's complete, all of these guys hate Trump, and yet they still showed up for his inauguration to demonstrate the peaceful transfer of power, the way that it's supposed to go. They didn't launch an insurrection.
Yeah, he was just the
Um,
sixth American president not to attend the swearing-in ceremony for his predecessor,
hmm.
according to the Palm Beach Post.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, he was in
I'm
Florida on
curious.
January 20th. He landed in West Palm Beach,
Yeah.
and they left the White House on Inauguration Day. Like he literally flew out on the day he was being ousted.
Uh,
And there's a certain modicum of respect that I have for that because I don't agree with showing him grace. Like if I were a former president that worked hard to um,
mhm.
enact uh, peace and equality in my beloved country, and then I have to be there for a literal dictator, a white supremacist dictator.
Right,
I
right.
would I would
God.
not be there. I would not try to save face. I would publicly tell
Hmm.
people that exactly why I'm not there, and just that I don't want to associate with him. I don't want to shake his hand.
Right.
I don't have respect for him because
Hmm.
that has to do with the oligarchy to me. We've already
Right.
mentioned it once today. It it's nothing new. I don't look at our democratic presidents with a lot of enthusiasm,
Hmm.
and oftentimes I feel like they didn't do enough, and um, where I think maybe just one of our talks I mentioned this, but can rationalism beat radicalism?
Mm.
And it's
Ah, right.
and that's how I feel, a lot of these democratic presidents have been is they're trying to defeat radicalism in America, the MAGA crowd, with
Right.
rationalism, which
Right. And we're
is
talking about irrational,
yeah,
um, largely irrational, some irrational people, let's say. I don't know if all of them are irrational, because some of them are, they think they're getting good information from bad sources. So if that information is true, it isn't irrational
right.
to vote the way,
True.
like, so, but some of them, I know some of them who are literally irrational, where you throw facts at them and they just pretend it's not there. And well, I don't care about that. Like, I've had some of them literally cover their ears and say, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Like about
Yeah,
healthcare and stuff. And I'm like, really? You want to be, that is irrational.
right.
But
But
like I see exactly what you're saying. Like I also see how it could be, like representing, like you attend this guy's inauguration who is the antithesis of everything you stand for, and it's to show unity rather than division in a time when the country is so divided. I think if I were the outgoing president and Trump had won, I think, yeah, I would have attended, just to show I'm not scared of this guy. I'm here. Unity is still an option, like lead by example. And so, I mean, I respect it looking at it like that. Like, and again, I could be off crying and starting an insurrection, but I am here showing support for the American system of government that, still could save us.
yeah.
Um, so we're still counting on some checks and balances to get us through. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I'm
No,
just
and I don't
saying
disagree with you either.
I see two ways of looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would, because my not attending would be spent admonishing, like
Right.
bringing attention to the fact that, like, these people are not your friends,
Hmm.
and being in the same room with them makes my skin crawl.
Right.
And
Which, yeah, for real though.
and but yeah, no, so I mean the opening was all about democracy, and then since then we'll get into it, but we've had our democracy challenged in many ways since
Oh,
Inauguration
yeah.
Day. We've had the
Yeah.
Constitution that we're supposed to be defending challenged in several ways since
Right.
Inauguration Day.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
have notes specifically from living in the future from when this speech was given while I was listening to it for the first time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
go on, go on.
So the second thing I noticed was no hand on Bible, and in our
Oh, I went
discussion,
to look that. Is
we
it
we we looked that up. There's I thought maybe there was something about like when you get sworn in the second time, you don't place your hand on the Bible, sort of like
no?
no
Yeah.
use in taking an oath twice type of thing.
Well, yeah,
Um,
except he's taking a new, it's kind of a new oath for a new term.
right, and yeah, apparently, I mean, you can read into it if you want.
Hmm.
The official report is that he forgot. You
Of
know,
course, well,
he forgot to put his hand on there.
well, that's so much better. I mean,
There,
it's still like,
there's actually no rules for any hand placing on any book. It's just tradition.
and there shouldn't be. It's just that it's a symbol. Like to me, it isn't even, it's not about the Bible. It's about like you don't have to use the Bible. I want to say
No, you
there was a
don't.
president who used something else or a different
Uh,
kind of Bible
John
or
John Adams did. It was John Adams or John Quincy Adams did a book of law.
okay.
Um,
Yeah. And
and
see,
then
that's something that he holds sacred. And so
Thomas
what you're
Jefferson
saying,
did the what is that Bible?
his
The
own
one
Bible, the Jefferson Bible,
that
where he,
yeah, it
did
was
he?
yeah, and
Was that
then the Lincoln Bible too. Well, the Lincoln Bible is just a Bible, but
right? Well,
it's
Jefferson didn't use that, but
no.
he
Uh,
wasn't.
the Lincoln
Bottom
Bible has
line.
been used four times at
Oh,
inaugurations,
okay. Right.
um,
So,
both of Obama's and both of
hmm,
Trump's.
fascinating. I thought the Jefferson Bible came after Thomas Jefferson was
Yeah,
president, but I
yeah,
could be wrong. I I don't know when he started cutting up Bibles. I just kind
right.
of wish I were there to have coffee with him and talk about it. Well, I was like, I would love to get into that guy's head because I think I'd agree with a lot of what he thought, but um, about the Bible,
But yeah, so
But
like you said, it's still a little strange having him not put the hand on the Bible. It's sort of the courtroom equivalent of having your fingers
having
crossed behind
right
your back.
and just the symbolism of it isn't about the Bible. It isn't about a particular religious dogma. It's about symbolically, while you are taking an oath, placing your hand on something you hold sacred as you will hold these vows that you are making. Like so the Book of Law, if John Quincy Adams
Right.
held
It was
that,
either
that's what he
John
held
Adams or his son.
sacred. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like something John Quincy Adams would do. But also it sounds like something John Adams would do, so I don't know.
Yeah. But
One of them John
and there's different
Adamses.
ways you can look at it. His wife was holding both the Bibles. So, in some people's eyes, your wife is your other half. And
Right,
so
right.
you are still connected to hands on a Bible.
Like I was
But, he doesn't put much faith in his wives, as we've seen.
there was a photo on X. I hate calling it X. It's so stupid. Twitter, whatever.
No,
You
just call it
know,
Twitter.
and someone was asking why wouldn't he put his hand on the Bible? And that was their post. And so I responded because he was afraid he would burst into flame in front of the whole country. But yeah, that was weird, right? Like, and
It
was
was
that
weird.
and that was before because I really only watched the speech.
Yeah, that
I
was
just
before the
wanted to,
speech.
okay, yeah, because he has to be sworn in first. Now he's the president and he goes to talk. Anything else from before I came into
No,
the room
uh,
for this?
no. I mean, the I don't know how inaugurations are planned. I don't know
Hmm.
if the incumbent is like responsible for like checking things off, like uh, like does Donald Trump have the final say on who gets to say anything at his own inauguration,
Pretty
or is
sure.
that the inauguration committee and Trump gets to get a word in? And then whoever else he wants to have a word after he's sworn in gets a word. So I don't exactly know how that is set up, but it seemed like everybody was pretty pro-Trump, like
Hmm.
the
Right.
two bishops that he had
Hmm.
give prayers before he was sworn in were they had pretty good prayers,
Hmm.
but one of them was increasingly biased. It seemed
Mm.
like he probably voted Trump and was very happy that God chose Trump again.
Oh.
Um, and
Oh.
so I found that a little interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, that's all from before.
Yeah.
There were two
And I think the
speakers
incoming
involved with
administration is responsible for arranging everything. I think the outgoing will help and assist in coordination, but it's they pick their own people. No one else is gonna pick who speaks at the next guy's inauguration.
right. Because I don't, again, I don't know how it all works, but they announced
Right?
themselves as being part of the inauguration committee and what an
Hmm.
honor it is to be there. And I don't know who picks that, if it's the one of the houses or if it's just the administration.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
I don't know either.
but yeah, no, that's all from before. Just two speeches, two prayers, a swearing in ceremony, and then speeches.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we could do a whole episode just on the inauguration, which is actually how this
Yeah,
this
that's what we were gonna do.
and then life happens
Life happened and we had to put it off, and then stuff happened. And it's
and
like we
didn't
have to
and
talk
won't
about all of
stop
it.
happening. Won't
But
stop.
it's like kind of like the inauguration. I feel like it's good. It's okay to spend an extra amount of time on it because everything kind of comes out of this. This is where he's laying out his plans. He's telling us this is what I am going to do. This is what I am all about. And then we can look at how he has carried out his pledge so far. I found it funny. And if this is after your first note on the speed, do you have anything else from before that you want to
Nope,
talk
go for
about?
it.
Just that I found it funny when he was talking about that he's going to end the weaponization of the Justice Department against
Yes,
political enemies. And now he's
actively.
firing FBI, planning to fire all the FBI agents who helped investigate January 6th. Like he's definitely it's because he thinks that him being held accountable for things he actually said and did that were in fact illegal is someone weaponizing the Justice Department when literally I almost said Obama. Biden stayed out of it. He didn't say go get him. He didn't say don't go get him. He just said he let the Justice Department do the Justice Department. He let the wheels of justice turn. He's the president. He's not gonna get involved, and I respected that. But yeah, Trump is the one who likes to weaponize things
Yep.
against his political enemies. But
Yeah,
so I
that's the whole
found that
reason why he wanted to be
ironic.
president, is so that he can get
Yeah.
away with anything.
Well, and he's been
Because
saying it. He's
we've
been
all yeah.
saying it with his own damn mouth.
Well, he's already set the precedent that basically puts the president above the law, no matter what.
Right. Yeah, he got the the Supreme Corn signed off on that. And he has immunity from committing from legal ramifications if he commits crimes in an official capacity, whatever that
Yep.
is. However
Yep.
we decide that can be defined, he can commit, and I think he's taken that to heart
Yeah.
running into this because he's already done illegal things, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, he says that America will be proud, prosperous, and free.
Oh
And it looks
gosh,
like his
yeah.
version of proud, prosperous, is free is, racist, for the rich and
Yeah, the rich will be
ignorance.
prosperous.
Yeah. The proud equals racist, the prosperous equals for the rich and the rich man's friends. And
Right,
then
right,
free seems to be free from facts and fact
right, and
checking
and
and
free from being told not to
education.
be a racist,
Yeah,
of social consequences too.
free to be ignorant.
Hmm.
And that is Trump's my interpretation of Trump's vision of proud, prosperous, and free.
That was my exact interpretation as well. Just from, watching the man for
Yes.
years.
Um,
That's just how he sees things.
I thought in spite of what he said throughout the speech, I thought this was one of his better speeches that he's given in his career.
Hmm.
He seemed to have found a script writer that is able to work with his outbursts
Uh-huh.
quite well because despite what he was saying, it flowed quite nicely. But however, there were some interesting word choices throughout. Um,
Uh-huh.
like when he talks about rallying behind our agenda. You know, MAGA
Hmm.
is the MAGA crowd is and other people are rallying behind our agenda. And he used the word
Hmm.
agenda, and
I didn't catch that.
I
Go
found that to
on.
be an interesting choice of words because agenda tends to carry with it a negative connotation
Hmm.
when talking about plans, and especially in a political capacity. You know, it's the woke agenda. You know, they
Yeah.
use that
The
the
gay
right
agenda. The
the
yeah,
right
every
uses agenda all the time as an
as a
evil word.
negative. Yeah.
And so here they are saying that they're rallying behind our agenda. And so them using that sort of synonym for because agenda itself, everybody's got an agenda. There's nothing
Hmm.
really, and that's another turn of phrase that is typically used in a negative way is that everybody has an agenda. Don't trust people because they've got an
Right.
agenda,
Right.
and so on and so forth. When it comes to politics, I would prefer to hear words like platform or
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. Like
because
just
platform,
connotation wise.
yeah, connotation wise, I'd rather hear them say people are rallying behind our platform.
Hmm.
So I found that word choice to be interesting. I think there was
Or our
a
vision,
our
something
vision,
more
something
less
more
less creepy.
inspiring. Um,
Yeah.
because later on in the inauguration, he claims that a soldier's sole purpose is
Oh
defeating
yeah.
America's enemies. And I found
Right.
that to be an interesting choice of words. That sounds like I will go to war.
Right. Well, he
Like,
also like, and that's I'm looking down because that was near the end. He promised to stop all wars. And
yeah,
I was like, yeah, after
he wants to
declaring
be
that we're
seen
going
as
to
a
take the
unifier.
Panama Canal back
Yeah,
and saying a soldier's sole purpose is to defeat our enemies, not to defend our nation,
yeah, I would
but
prefer
to
to hear words
defeat
like
our
defense.
enemies. Yeah, it's
Preservation of peace, defend our
right,
country,
right. To
not
protect us,
not
there's
defeat enemies. So just interesting word choice.
right.
Um, I mean, at the end of
Very
the day, the way soldiers defend us is by defeating enemies, but to
right.
use the it was too literal to
Uh-huh.
it kind of
Right.
sent a shock.
Well, it's not, and what frightens me is all the different people he considers to be our enemies, like our allies, who he considers to be our enemies, like Canada. Well, I thought it was interesting, like he referred to for years we've been under a corrupt people have been under a corrupt administration that took power and wealth from the people.
Yeah,
And I'm like, no, we voted you out. Now we're starting.
yeah,
Like, I mean, what? And he said schools are teaching children to be ashamed of themselves and to hate America.
right.
And like, I mean, again, it comes back to the same horse crap where, you're being taught about things like slavery happening, and
Yeah,
they don't want you to teach anything that hurts white people's feelings or makes them feel guilty. And I'm like, well, that's how you keep them from doing it again.
yeah,
But they're not teaching you to be ashamed of yourself. There are certain parts of our history that we should be ashamed of, though. And to
right.
the point that, as just it's a part of our heritage that is not something to be proud of.
Right.
Our
Germany
racist
learned that lesson.
past. Right, they did. Like
They know all
Elon
about it.
Musk's Heil, his
Yeah.
like no one else in the world is trying to defend that.
No.
Germany is absolutely not defending that. No, it's like, yeah, go do that in Germany. It's
Yeah,
just,
and you'd be in jail.
right, right. But yeah, it's like, and then when he said he's been tested more than any president in the United States history because he's been so persecuted and they've just been out to, take it up with Lincoln and Kennedy, then Reagan, all of whom actually got shot. Oh, and he was talking about like trying to pull the martyr. This the
Yeah.
attack by the Jedi has left me scarred. Like he's like, what did he say? Like that the
Oh,
bullet
that's
tore
actually a
through
note.
his ear. Like
Yeah.
he didn't
No, that
mean
was
to.
actually something that I meant to write down. His speech felt very Palpatine-esque. Like
Right.
it felt very I will take
Right.
these new powers, these
Right.
given to me, and I shall return them to the people when my work is done.
Right.
And like
BS, but
yeah,
no one who gains power, everyone who gains power is afraid to lose it.
yeah.
That another Palpatine quote. But yeah,
He
it
made some,
scares me.
yeah, he made
And
several
he said,
claims during the speech that were questionable at best. Like you
uh-huh.
said, because I didn't write that one down because I just wrote that one off as
Hmm.
Trump being Trump. Um,
Right.
so like, he's going to defeat inflation, and rapidly reduce costs and prices,
Oh,
which
yeah, he's done great at that.
and then he said inflation was caused by massive overspending. And I don't have any articles to cite here, but the last time I looked up what's the deal with the inflation crisis,
Hmm.
I seem to recall it being directly pointed towards the COVID-19 pandemic and the
That's
fact that the world shut down for two
hmm
years
Yeah,
and
and that's
is
when it
still
started for
recovering.
sure. And like
And
that's when corporations got extra greedy because, that's when a lot of things like I work in the publishing industry. And I don't know if this has been resolved, but last year there was still an issue that the book publishers anticipated much lower sales. So they started giving authors much smaller royalties, or no, much smaller advances on new books. It was like 12 grand, but spread out over years instead of
hmm,
all at once. So like that's how are you supposed to make a living? But it was supposed to be a temporary thing. Um, but the pandemic is long behind us. They had record profits during the pandemic
because people were reading.
because yeah, people were locked in their house and reading books and so then they didn't want to let go of that. We're just barely paying the authors anything for these. Like spreading a royalty out over years rather than all at once. And like that's just one example of just where they learned they could make more money than they were, and they didn't want to reverse policies. Like a lot of them, like there's been a lot of fake, false inflation where it's like, or where they just say that there's a shortage or just things are more expensive, but they just raise the prices.
Right.
It's been like it's not it's not like the resources are getting more expensive to acquire. It's that they just learn
The
that they can keep squeezing us
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
and
there's
they keep raising the
the real
prices.
estate bubble, like commercial real estate
Uh-huh.
especially was hit hard by the pandemic because people started working from home and then realized there's no reason for them to be in the office. And so a large reason why, people
Oh
were
yeah.
forced to come back into the office was because these commercial buildings
Hmm.
were empty and being paid for and upkept and
Right.
all that. And so you have to come back to work specifically because we need people in this building to justify it being here.
Right. And it's more like for the people who own those buildings,
Exactly.
like they want people in there. The company, you could let go of that cost, you
Yeah.
know? Like why not do that? And like, it's called we're evolving as a society as we always do. Like it's crazy to continue to try to hold on to the past when it doesn't make it's like, we don't go around in horse-drawn carriages anymore. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like if you were to it's kind of the same thing. Like, oh, well, no, we have to keep these horses on the street. So you're not allowed to drive cars anymore. You have to take your horses because that's a big business, but no more.
Yeah.
It's not a big business anymore. Like I think it's ridiculous to try to stop the inevitable evolution of society.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean constantly doing that now with energy and
mhm.
whatnot, but that's another th well, I mean,
Yeah,
he
no,
mentions it
exactly.
in the he mentioned it
Drill,
in
baby,
the
drill.
Drill
Like
Baby
he's gonna
Drill.
keep us dependent on fossil fuels while the rest of the world, and he's saying it's gonna give us so much money because we'll be selling so much oil. Well, the rest of the countries are going electric. They're going solar. They're embracing the the fact that we're fighting climate change. We're fighting doing more harm to the planet. We're fighting the inevitable collapse of the fossil fuel industry.
Yeah,
It's we're looking for renewable energy, cleaner energy. The rest of the world's on board.
right.
Like
And
largely, not all of them, but largely. And so who are we going to be selling all of this oil to
and I found
down the
it
road?
interesting that, how does the United States export of oil make me any wealthier as
It doesn't.
somebody? And so I thought that interesting that
It
rather
makes his
than
buddies rich.
because some people have said for a long time, why are we even selling our oil and then purchasing oil from
Hmm.
other countries? What's the point of the exchange if we're paying more for Saudi Arabian oil when we have our own and we're selling it for less than what we're buying it for?
Yeah,
And so it's interesting because he contradicted himself with that. He was talking about self-reliance as a country, and then he's
right.
talking about giving all our oil away.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, that's a contradiction. But so yeah, I mean, yeah, he does not want
Right. Well,
he wants
selling it,
the
but he's
the
not
America that
being
he
nice to
grew
our
up
trading
with.
partners. Right. He wants 1950s America.
Yeah. And
That's what a
so
lot of these old guys want. And then, a lot of them are old guys. Some of them are younger, but also sociopaths, like some of the billionaires, like Bezos and Musk. Like
yep.
they aren't children of the 1950s or, whatever decade Trump was born in. Like he's pushing 80. He has
Yeah.
to have been, no, he was born in the 40s, surely.
Yeah. Uh I think
So he was a
50.
child in the 50s.
Yeah.
So, he remembers that world where they had separate but equal.
46.
They didn't have a black person in their neighborhood.
Right.
They didn't have a
Especially not
black
Trump's
person in their
neighborhood.
school. Yeah. Yeah, where his dad wouldn't rent to black people. Um, yeah, so that's what they want. They want it to be a Leave It to Beaver dream world in glorious black and white. Ironically,
Yeah, he
I'm
said
surprised they don't want to take color off of the TV. It was better
yeah.
in black and white in my day.
Yeah, that he can finally stop going and getting spray tans.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
for real. We need to
but
bring the milkmen back. Why don't we have milkmen anymore?
yeah, that would be pretty cool. But
Right. We have refrigerators now. That, again, evolution of society. That job is no more.
right. And so he announced that there was going to be an executive order to stop all government censorship and bring back free speech
Oh,
to America,
yeah, I made a note on that.
which is just funny because there are very little, if any, government-sponsored censorship campaigns.
Right. He's talking about Twitter.
Yeah, he's literally
Like
talking
that's what
about
I
Twitter.
wrote. He's talking
Yeah.
about Twitter, and that's
He thinks that
free
that's a
speech never went
government.
away.
Yeah, he thinks what is that a government body?
Practically with Elon Musk, his
Yeah,
personal Rasputin being the owner of it. Now it's practically a government, but it wasn't. It is. It's not. It's a company. It's not the government. They can kick you off if they want to.
yeah. You signed the terms of use,
Right. Right.
and they have the ability. They formerly had the ability to kick anybody off, but now cis is a slur on there. You can't,
What?
yeah, no, you can't type
For real?
cisgender on Twitter. It'll flag your post.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
That
whereas you can,
everything about it. Elon Musk is a motherfucking. Well, anyway, I don't.
yeah,
I'm gonna try not to get sued.
and
Be like,
so
I'm not
yeah,
a turd, and I can prove it in court.
he said, yeah, and then I had the note that you talked about, never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents,
Hmm.
which is hilarious because he is actively doing that currently.
Yeah, actively doing it. And he's always threatened to do it. When he was in office before and between his terms, constantly making that threat. And then he acts like he honestly has convinced himself, or at least he thinks he's convincing us that this has been a witch hunt, that he did nothing wrong. He's the most innocent man ever to walk the earth. I don't know. And, he told, like he said he was saved by God to make America great again. He said that in his speech about the assassination attempt. Um, and I'm just like, every time this guy talks about God, I feel sick. Like
Yeah,
it's a total scam. He's just trying, he doesn't believe in God, and I'm
snake
not
oil.
saying he'd be better if he did. I'm saying he's just saying that crap to manipulate people. Like this guy is a literal and objective antichrist. And I don't believe in the whole idea of the antichrist like some comic book villain who's the reverse Jesus is going to come down and like no, it's just the man, everything about him is the antithesis to everything that gospel Jesus stood for and taught. So I don't understand how he's managing to just, sell Bibles with the Constitution in it, for which he has equal reverence. Like how he manages to convince these people that he is God's chosen savior for our times, when everything he says and does runs counter to that, very, very out in the open opposite of the teachings of Jesus. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's hard to understand um because you know, I don't I'm not so easily swayed me
Right.
personally. Um I'm skeptical, and
Hmm.
I look at everything and don't believe it at first until I can, look it up, see it with my eyes, or
Hmm.
find enough evidence to justify a
Right.
belief or
It's
a
called critical
stance.
thinking.
Yeah.
Critical thinking. That's
Something
what's
this country
missing
needs a
here.
lot, this country's people
A
need to do a lot
lot.
more of.
Because yeah, it's not hard if you apply critical thinking and you're a person of Christian faith. You can apply critical thinking like, now does this man represent my religious beliefs? Like if you're critical thinking, it takes no time. It would take 2 seconds to say, no,
Yeah, yeah, in my
Jesus does
experience,
not want me to vote for this man.
yeah, in my experience, brimstone and fire believing Christians don't practice a whole lot of
No,
critical thinking.
no, they don't.
It's
They
counter
don't
to their
really
beliefs.
even,
Anytime they do, they start to get a headache and they don't understand what's happening, and then they think that it's the devil trying to
right.
sway them, and their
Yeah,
brain hurts
exactly.
because their brain is screaming to think this through.
Right.
And
And they don't
you,
want to. They feel threatened.
yeah, generations of intelligence are lighting off beacons in their brain to
Hmm.
please think about this more. And
Right. And gosh, but I mean, just Trump, you take religion out of it. The same argument applies. If something is true, then it can withstand any amount of scrutiny.
right,
If something is untrue, like if something cannot withstand any amount of scrutiny, then it is untrue. Scrutinize Donald Trump. He
yeah,
cannot withstand any amount of scrutiny.
Right.
It's like it's not hard if you apply critical thinking to see through the bullshit, but people don't want to see through the bullshit. That's the real problem.
Right.
Like
Because
he's
then it,
permissive of their what they want, their fantasy of again the Leave It to Beaver black and
right.
white TV world they
You know, he is a
felt
convicted
safe in.
felon,
Right, and they
and
don't care.
you know the his supporters want to believe that that was the DOJ weaponized against Trump just to spite him, when in fact it was scrutinized and he
Hmm.
was convicted of 40 counts. And that's
Right.
what
Witch
happens.
hunt. Witch
And
hunt.
if we did
All
it
that
again,
evidence, man.
if we did
They're out to
an
get you.
independent one, that they'd come up with the same thing, if not more. And
Right.
so, like, you know, I don't know. That's wild. He decided to throw in Mount McKinley
Oh
in
Lord. Yeah,
there,
Mount McKinley and the Gulf of America.
Gulf of America, and name changes
What the
happen.
hell? How
It's
does
just a
that lower
weird
my
thing.
grocery bill?
Yeah, it's just a weird thing to campaign on lowering
Uh-huh.
prices and then just decide to. I guess, it's a. The one thing I can say is that, whatever. I'm still going to call it the Gulf of Mexico. I'm still going to call X
Right.
Twitter.
Well, so is
You
the
know,
rest of the
yeah,
world.
the rest of the world is.
Because
Google Maps
Google
is about to
changed it.
change it,
They
but only
changed
for
it to the
United
Gulf of
States.
America. That's
Yeah.
stupid. It's not.
Is
What
it
the
already
hell?
changed?
I think so. I don't know. I saw something about it. I can't
Yeah,
definitively say it has, but
no, it currently still says Gulf of Mexico for me.
okay, good. Because I mean, it's ridiculous. Like he doesn't have jurisdiction to change the name of that. I think it's what 12 nautical miles out is the only he only has jurisdiction over that much of the ocean.
It doesn't matter.
After that, it's the Gulf of, he
It's a
doesn't
non-issue
have
for me.
jurisdiction over the whole Gulf of Mexico. It's a non-issue, and that's what's ridiculous. That's why it's absurd that he's making a big deal out of
Yeah.
this. Like this is some way we've all been oppressed is by having to call the Gulf of Mexico when I've never met a single human being who has been bothered by that. It's like just all this horse crap.
Yeah. And I mean
And it's not
it's fine, whatever. It looks silly that
right.
our president is boasting about changing the name for us.
Uh-huh,
It's
and we
not going
don't
to change.
care.
We don't care.
But it
People still
does
call
nothing.
X Twitter, and it's funny because
Right.
we're
And it pisses off Elon Musk, which makes me enjoy calling it Twitter.
yeah, no, and they get so uptight over dead naming,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be dead naming the
You're
Gulf of
right.
Mexico till I die.
Dead name the Gulf of Mexico.
And
Absolutely.
they
I
they
mean,
believe that they can change names so profoundly, but yet
uh-huh.
if Marcus wants to be called Tiffany, that's apparently a huge issue.
Right, right. They're hypocrites. They can't even see it. Like they do this stuff devoid of any conscious irony. Like
Yeah,
and like and ultimately, yeah, it's a nothing issue. So what? I refuse to get like angry about it because it's just water. Like it doesn't matter Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America.
it's
Like
just
it's not like
silly.
Mount McKinley
Yeah,
where
Mount
that's
McKinley
actually
is
kind of offensive. Like this
yeah,
really slap in the face.
yeah, it's Denali.
Right,
And
it's Denali.
that's what the people, the natives there have called it for centuries.
Uh-huh.
And then some prospector goes up there and decides to take a picture and call it Mount McKinley, and on or
And it already had a
in
name.
in support of yeah, exactly. I mean, we're good at that, us Americans. We're good at
Right.
discovering something, calling it discovered.
Colonizers.
Yeah,
I
and
discovered this thing that you've been calling something for thousands of years.
it's
We're gonna
just
name it after a white guy. We're gonna.
yeah, uh, yeah, it's so I mean that's and he just sort of threw that in there. I wasn't even
Hmm.
aware of Mount McKinley or Denali or any of that. I
Uh-huh.
mean, hell, I'm from Texas. I have a job. I have a life. I'm not too versed on Alaskan mountains and their names. Um,
Right.
And, for that to be a topic at the inaugural address just tickled my funny
Yeah,
bone. Um,
right. Because
he,
what the hell?
what the hell?
That's not on the anybody's list of things
He
we
loves to
want
pat
or
himself
need
on the
changed in
back.
this country. Yeah, well, I did this. No one was asking for that. We
Who
want
cares?
cheaper groceries,
Yeah,
cheaper housing, higher
yeah.
paying jobs. He wants to get rid of the minimum wage, has said so on numerous occasions, but that's another topic. He didn't bring that up at all
No.
in
The
his
next thing you brought up was ending
speech.
the chronic disease epidemic,
Yeah,
keeping our children safe, healthy, and disease free,
right. And I
which
think I
is
wrote like you did
ironic.
during COVID,
Yeah,
like when
it's
you were
completely ironic.
anti-vaccine and like he's oh so he's going to keep us all disease free but he's reinstating all of the soldiers who were excommunicated who were discharged because they refused to take the COVID vaccine.
Which is also funny
So
because
that's not keeping us disease free, that's spreading diseases. These
yeah, one of the
guys
first thing you do when you sign on for the military, when you get to boot camp, is they inject you with all sorts of
everything.
shit.
My dad's told me stories. He was a Marine, and he said that day one, they walked through a line, and people just
Boom,
injected them
boom,
with stuff.
boom, boom.
Like you don't get a choice. You're in the military. You
Yeah,
follow orders. If you
you are
can't
a
follow orders, you should be discharged.
yeah, and that's funny. Disease free
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah. He contradicts himself. But I mean, that said, I mean, it's not necessarily wrong to disobey orders. Like
Right.
even if you do it for something like I think if you weren't taking a vaccine, you felt justified in that. But still, you should be discharged. You can be proud of it. You can wear it as a badge of honor if you think you did the right thing. Because I'm all about questioning orders that you find reprehensible. I just don't understand the whole anti-vaccine. I'm like thinking, yeah, putting Jews in an oven would be
Yeah.
something where I would feel proud of not following that order. But no, I should not then continue to be a Nazi. I should be discharged.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
and better for all of us if I am, because they need a guy who will put the Jews in the oven, and I need a job that won't ask me to do that.
Yeah, that was not in the
So,
job description.
right, right. So, okay,
Yeah,
so,
and so I mean, just the irony, like his speech was just full of irony.
right.
Because then this was another one that I missed in my notes about interesting choices of words. Because then he goes on to talk about manifest destiny,
Oh, Lord, yeah.
and it's like
And
that's
and
a
Mars.
yeah, and Mars apparently
Manifest destiny to put the American
stars
flag
and
on
stripes on
Mars,
Mars, and
which
manifest destiny has roots in
uh-huh.
pillaging and colonizing and
Exactly. It's
hopefully Mars doesn't have any natives because they've got
oh yeah.
a horrible fate coming for them.
Yeah, yeah. And like there's a treaty. Hold on, let me look it up. They're from like the 1960s about the moon and the planets, an international treaty where they can only be used peacefully. Like, I don't think, yeah, we put an American flag on the moon, but I want to say it's more symbolic that it's just we got here. Here's our flag. But the moon is not a United States territory. That wasn't manifest destiny. We use the moon and space stations in cooperation. Scientists cooperate in space from all other countries.
Not for long.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. I think the way that he is and the way that he was talking manifest destiny to Mars is like it will be ours.
Yeah.
And that's one of many proposed violations of international treaties.
I know that the
Uh,
ISS is coming down in the next like 5 years or so.
oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
they're
yeah, it
decommissioning
is.
it and it's going to go to private entities rather than
Oh,
public entities. Uh Musk is overseeing the decommissioning of
Of
the
course he
ISS,
is. Of course he
and
is.
then we will be putting up privately owned satellites and
Oh,
research
jeez.
stations in the atmosphere, and
Yeah, space is for profit.
yeah, corporations will enter space.
It's my nightmare. You know, he just wants to be the first to get to the asteroid belt and be the first trillionaire.
Yeah.
Um, the Outer Space Treaty, that's what it was called. Yeah, 1967. So that's 2 years before we even got to the moon.
Mm.
Um, the exploration and use of outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies, shall be carried out in accordance with international law. I don't know, but yeah, so you can't just go conquer Mars and
Yeah.
make it an American territory.
Until we do.
Sorry. Until we do. And then, yes. And then things are going to get ugly. But
Yeah.
it's inevitable. Like, I think that's inevitable, and that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
So, I mean, that pretty much wraps up the what I had for the inauguration. Because the last thing that I wrote down was more words that I thought were interesting, which was ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation. And
mm,
you know,
mm,
I get it. Some ambition is good, but his ambitions seem ill-natured
right,
from his
right.
previous administrations and his rhetoric leading up to his election. Like you've
Yeah.
pointed out in previous videos and our own discussions, where he says
Mm,
things like, you know, vote for me, this will be the last time you have to, and you know,
right. Yeah, you won't have to vote. You won't have to vote after this. That's terrifying coming from
yeah,
him.
terrifying ambition for sure. His ambition seems to know no bounds,
Hmm.
and unchecked ambition is not the lifeblood of a great nation.
Right, exactly. Like ambition gets you places, but
Ambition tempered with intelligence
justice and
and
intelligence,
justice and checks
yes.
and balances. And
Yes.
so, yeah,
Um,
our justices should have no ambition other than holding up the Constitution.
exactly.
Our House of Representatives and Senate should have no ambitions other than
Representing their
vote in
people.
accordance with the wishes of their constituents
Hmm.
and our
Or in
uh,
their constituents' best interests, even if,
right.
you know, if they're going to disagree with them and vote against what they need to risk not getting reelected, but they need to be doing it in their opinion for the better good, the greater good. Like, you know, like if a colony didn't want us to join to rebel against the British Empire, you know, all of those guys voted to do it because
Yeah.
they thought it was in the best interest of their colony.
Yeah, so I
Um,
mean, it's and that's lots of interesting wordplay within the speech that is
yeah,
somewhat alarming for
yeah.
our commander in chief and the face of our nation to be
Hmm.
broadcasting to the world. Um, he essentially
Right.
put two middle fingers up to the rest of the colonized world
Hmm.
and basically said, "We're the best, F the rest," and
Yeah, right.
um, pulled us out of the Paris Climate Agreement,
Hmm.
pulling us out of the WHO, you know, just withdrawing, turning us into a more xenophobic nation, shaping it within what seems to be what shapes his values, which is fear.
Right.
Fear of the other
Right.
and lining his pockets.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that's all I've got for the
Okay.
inauguration.
Yeah, I've got a couple more things I wanted to touch on. Like the national emergency at the southern border he was going to declare, which,
Ah, yes.
you know, and that he's going to, you know, reinstate the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which has been done. It was done during the War of 1812, it was done during World War One, it was done during World War Two. What's frightening about it is that, you know, that's, I think, what led to the
Japanese
concentration
concentration camps.
camps for yeah, for the Japanese during World War Two. You know, you can take that and run with it and do horrible things. Um, you know, that's where he's also said, you know, we're gonna declare the cartels. south of the border as a foreign terrorist organizations. And I think that's fair,
Yeah,
honestly.
no, that no,
Like
that
if
I'm
anything I agree
surprised.
with, I'm like, yeah, well, they're not already.
Yeah, that was shocking that they weren't
Hmm.
already, and I didn't look up the veracity of that if they
Right.
weren't
Neither
already.
did I.
The and the cartels are interesting for a couple reasons, just because the cartels are like a necessary evil
Mm.
in a certain capacity because they
Mm.
have power. You remove
Uh-huh.
power and it creates a vacuum, and that
Right.
creates issues, which is what largely leads to a lot of global conflicts,
Hmm.
which is a vacuum of power. I mean, that's what inadvertently led to World War II, was we crippled Germany and we radicalized them. And
Uh-huh.
that gave birth to Hitler. That
Right.
that environment that he was forced to grow up in after the world unfairly put the whole burden of World War One on Germany,
Hmm.
created a radicalized group. We go into Iraq and Afghanistan and we murder children who are, wielding rocket launchers, yes,
Hmm.
but now we have continued the cycle of radicalization, and now we have ISIS, and
Right.
it, and then if we were to make moves on Putin or uh, Kim Jong, that's his name, right? Kim Jong
Yeah. Un.
Un, yeah, North Korea's
It's Kim
guy.
Jong-un.
Yeah, Kim Jong Un. So I mean, if we made moves on that, creates problems
Hmm.
because we created a power vacuum in the Middle East,
Right.
of our own making, and we saw what happened when we left.
Hmm.
We left a vacuum there when America pulled out.
Right.
I don't disagree with pulling out,
Well, no,
but
because that war was never going to end. It,
right. So with the cartels, it's a slippery slope because you go in there and you take out all the cartels and you radicalize people. Uh,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
they should not be doing business on domestic land. We should view them as terrorist organizations and
Hmm.
properly prosecute Americans who do business in enabling
Yes.
them. You are
Okay.
working,
I
you
see.
will now carry with, like, working with the cartel, with them having a terrorist title, will now actively make the prosecuted working with foreign terrorist organizations. So working with the cartel will now
Uh-huh.
carry a much higher penalty than
Right.
ever before with the terrorist designation.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's not to me, that's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. Keep the
Um,
drugs out of the United States.
well, I mean, let's not go crazy, but
Well, we can
okay.
grow our own drugs here.
Right. True, true, true.
And
Um,
we've got our own cartel.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
we don't
called
need them. See, that's what I was like,
the pharmaceutical industry.
you want to break all that. You legalize all the drugs. We had a whole episode about that.
Yeah, let's
Um,
grow insulin so it'll
let's
stop
grow
being
insulin. We do
$400.
in our bodies if we're not diabetic.
Right.
So there's that. There's the whole remain in Mexico, no more catch and release. And no more catch and release. Like I need to hear more because we again there are international treaties. So if people come to the border, like he makes it out incorrectly as though there are just all these people sneaking into the country. Like when they come seeking asylum, they walk up to the people at the border, the guards or soldiers or whatever, and they turn themselves in and say, I'm seeking asylum. They are taken in and they are given a court date and they were released to await their court date because they're seeking asylum and most of them get sent back is the thing. But I think, ending well I guess what worries me is like if it's just no, you have to stay in Mexico until your court date, then I don't know. Again, I need more information because are the international treaties to protect them from the dangers they are fleeing? Like if we were fleeing America, let's say a fascist regime took over and we had a podcast and said things that pissed said fascist regime off, and so we were fleeing the country.
Paris, the thought.
We're at the Canadian border. And they're like, all right, we'll give you a court date, but you have to stay in America until that court date. Are they really helping us? Like because we have to stay in America where we have targets on our heads. So I think that's problematic just from an ethics standpoint and from an international honoring international treaties standpoint, which is also an issue of ethics, um, and maintaining good relationships with other countries. Um, so I think, so what's the other way you cannot catch and release is you just catch and lock up, and
And
this
that's what
meant
catch and release is supposed to deter. So catch and
right.
release policy requires that the government release illegal immigrants into the United States interior after detaining them for 6 months if no other country accepts them for deportation.
Really? Okay.
So basically, they get their court
Ah,
date
okay.
and or they are just waiting around and incarcerated essentially for
Uh-huh.
6 months. We can't just hold them. And if
Right, right. Okay.
because
And that's
deportation costs money.
right.
And we
Well,
like to
so does
get money.
holding them. It all
Yeah,
costs money.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to pay to put them on a bus. So we're reaching out to their home residence country
Yeah.
to pay
Okay.
for them to get home. And if they don't, then, well, let's just release them. We're spending too much money holding them captive, and it's unethical to just hold them indefinitely.
Uh-huh.
It's a
I
humanitarian
see. I
thing.
see.
And so apparently
Okay,
we're
I didn't
ending
even
that.
realize that was a thing where they just released people. Well, it's like, but they're still waiting for their court date. It's not after their court date, or it is after their court date. Because I mean, I guess that's something I need to learn more about is what is the process of deportation? Because yeah, like he's been loading people up on planes, and countries like Colombia are like, no, we will not let you land your damn plane full of deportees. Not unless you're going to treat them with dignity, was
Yeah.
their condition. I think they made an agreement about that. Like they were treated with more dignity and brought in, and Colombia accepted them, and we, escaped that tariff. So
Don't
all
get me
that's
wrong. I
going
mean, illegal immigration is always going to be an issue
right.
in any modern country.
Yeah, and
Like,
there are reforms needed, definitely.
yeah, I mean, you know, it's part of our societal contracts.
Hmm.
There are citizenships, and yes, all borders are imaginary. Uh, Nobody's illegal on stolen land. Those are trending, those two
Yeah,
leftist
true.
sentiments. But this is the modern world, and those are the way things work.
Hmm.
Our Constitution is a social contract. We agree to these bindings,
Hmm.
and there needs to be order. With
Yeah.
if you get rid of those social bindings, we go back to wandering tribes.
Hmm.
And that's the only thing unifying us. I mean, yes, there needs to be reforms. There always need to be reforms. That's part of being a part of a society is constantly scrutinizing, reforming, looking for chinks in the
Yes.
armor and hammering them out. And, it needs to be easier to become a citizen. I've given several of my citizen friends citizenship tests, and many of them would be going back to their home
Yeah,
countries.
those things are ridiculously hard.
Now I got a 50 out of 50 on the one that I took because yeah, no, some of it, some of it is like difficult stuff.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of it, if you just paid attention in school,
That's the
it's not
trick.
it's not that difficult. There were only a few in
Right.
there that I had to think on, and the one I took, I don't know about the actual one. I'd be interested to get an actual to take the citizenship test.
Uh-huh.
Um, but the United States has no official language, so English
Right.
speaking should not be a qualification for citizenship. and it is
Right.
largely proven to be so. Um,
Yeah, and like they, that's one thing that Trump did was all the Spanish language versions of anything are off of the government
mhm.
websites. So if you're not an English speaking person, but you are a citizen, you can't
I believe one of the bullet points of Project 2025 was to make English the
hmm.
primary language of the United States, the first one we've ever had.
Yeah, that's there's a big push from that from the right. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, a unifying language kind of makes sense, but to make it the official, you must speak this language, I don't know. It's hard because we're not all from England, like how you can say, oh, well, that's because it's what the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were written, the founding documents were all
And
written in English, but I don't, we've always been a melting pot. We've always been a nation of immigrants.
and trust me, you wouldn't understand the English that they spoke back in 1776. That
I
English is
mean, it
not
wasn't that
modern
different.
vernacular.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, but yeah, no, I mean, it's the same argument as some of the trans arguments, which
Hmm.
is if you can't speak English, you're not American.
No,
What
right.
about deaf people?
Right. Yeah. See, it's just
You
there's
know,
too much nuance. And I mean, that goes for immigration,
American
right?
Sign
There's a
Language.
lot of nuance. It's not all people who deserve to come into the country, and it's not all rapists and criminals,
Right.
but nuance is in everything.
And nuance is lost on this administration in many capacities.
Right.
Well,
Right.
nuance is
Because it's
largely
very
lost in American
extreme.
politics.
Yeah, it really is. But I mean,
Not
these
just Trump's
guys
politics, but yeah,
thrive on demonizing
surface
with
level
utter lies and just, oh, if you say this, then you mean this
generalizations,
extreme thing. Yeah.
stereotypes,
Hmm.
and you
Like if
know,
you think trans people should be able to express themselves, you want all children to get sex changes. That's not, it's
such a
a,
leap of logic.
exactly. They're making, and he said in his thing about trans people, he said, from now on there will only be two genders. Like,
Such a
I don't know.
non-issue.
Yeah,
So
it's they've made this an issue. Just leave people alone.
yeah,
Let trans people be. They're not hurting you.
bring down egg prices.
Yes, like
How does
exactly. How does that make
how does
eggs cheaper?
codifying gender in American politics making eggs cheaper,
Yeah,
making
you know
gas
what both
cheaper,
trans people and cis people want? Cheaper
cheaper eggs?
groceries,
Yeah,
affordable housing, fair living wages for a full-time job. That's what we all want. We
yep,
don't care how many genders there are. I think it's, personally, I like diversity. I think it makes things cooler. I think it makes people more interesting.
yeah,
But, nobody's, but that's a whole other, that's another topic for another. We've
yeah.
done
We just
that
made
topic.
two
We,
topics.
yeah.
Yeah, immigration in
Um,
America could be a whole
But
topic.
see, but okay, but back to like, how does that make eggs cheaper? That's one of the things he stood there and said. One of his big contradictions within the speech was that he said he was going to rapidly bring down costs and inflation. And then he said that we're going to tariff and tax other countries
Yeah,
instead of taxing us. He's a fucking moron. That was my note. You're gonna have the external revenue service, and he does not like at this point he has to know what a tariff is. He's been
right.
told so many times over so many years. He can't actually still think that other countries pay us tariffs and but that's what he said in his speech yet again, that we're going to be bringing in so much money from other countries by taxing them with tariffs. Not what a tariff is, and like that's his thing with Canada. He keeps saying we have such a deficit, like a trade deficit. That doesn't mean they owe us money. That means that the value of our exports is less than we spend on imports from Canada.
Right.
That means we buy more from them than we sell to them.
America
You wanna
makes
change
very
that,
little.
up your exports.
Yeah,
But you
we
don't,
don't.
they don't
No,
owe us money.
nobody's buying Fords in Japan.
Right, right.
Nobody's buying Fords in Japan, and for all I know, they may have a tariff in place on American vehicles.
Possibly because, other countries are going more in the direction of renewable energy. Like there's a whole car company that the countries outside of the United States from China, a China-based car company that makes cheaper and better electric cars than we have here. And Americans, like, so I don't know the name off the top of my head. I would have to look it up because we don't have this company. And because I want to say it was the Biden administration that put a 100% tariff on this car. And the Biden administration was pushing renewable energy, but it was from China was the issue, I think. But instead of, that's one of those things where we could put our resources into competing with the Chinese. Let's make a better and more affordable electric car than what they have and just compete them out of the country. You don't have to
I
put a
think you're
tariff
talking
on
about
them.
BYD.
I think that's it because it's something very simple like that.
Yeah, I haven't looked too much into it, but I was just wanting to get the name down, bookmark it for later research.
Right, right.
Because
Because
yeah,
it's an interesting topic.
being a car enthusiast myself, don't get me wrong, I dread the day where my precious combustion engines are going to be relics and possibly illegal.
I think you'll
And
probably be able to get a grandfathered in, like,
yeah, no, that's why I want to buy
as a
all my dream
collector or
cars right
something.
now.
Hmm.
That way I don't have to pay collector's premiums on combustion engines with
Right,
my $17 an hour day laborer job in 20 years. But yeah, no, tariffs don't work that way. He has
right.
he has a misinformation on tariffs just
Yeah,
planted in his head on what they are and what they do and what they're for.
right.
And they're an a foreign economic suppression tactic is what tariffs are for. They are to
Hmm.
economically starve a rival economic power
Right,
and create animosity amongst the
right,
American people for that particular country.
right. So that they can't sell their stuff to us. That's how it's a deterrent to them. But electric cars are one thing. Eggs are another. Coffee, that's another thing. Things that the everyday American actually wants. That's why nobody really even knows much about like the tariff on Chinese electric cars. But like the last note I have on it was that he said that this will be remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in American history. I fear that it will. I hope that it will just be one of those things. Like we'll look back on it like we look back on
Your
Grover
first girlfriend.
Cleveland's second term. Yeah, your first girlfriend
And just like, sheesh.
may have been a disaster,
Woo.
but not the greatest or
Yeah,
most consequential romance of your life.
right. It was definitely there and it was a part of it.
Right,
Um,
right. We learned
your
from it,
your
but we
first
moved
date after
on.
divorce or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
good Lord, that was a disaster. And but we grew from it. We learned from it, and
Right. Yeah.
won't happen again. And so that's all we can hope from yeah his haunting words
Hmm.
that are hopefully just nothing more.
Right. So I
I
guess
don't even know how he's going to bring down egg prices.
he has no intention.
Well,
It
there's
doesn't, it's not an issue for him. It was just something to say to get votes, to get elected. He didn't even know what groceries were.
yeah,
That was a
eggs are
new word
expensive
for him.
because 12 million birds died of
Hmm.
avian influenza.
Bird flu.
I don't know how the president has the power to bring down egg prices when that's the issue.
Right, but it goes into well, you see, it's not going to be helpful that, 75% of farm workers aren't showing up to work anymore.
Right.
It's things like that he could at least maintain. There are things they could do. They could do, because where are we getting the eggs that are bird flued?
That
But
that's
eggs were
that's American.
I mean, eggs were
Most of
going up anyway. Everything was going up anyway, just because of greedy corporations raising prices. Because, we have record profits and inflation. That doesn't add up. Like,
yeah,
wages
no,
aren't going up.
less than 1% of American consumed eggs are imported. So most
Okay,
of
so
our
that's
eggs are
here.
domestic. Yeah.
And so, what are we doing to fight the bird flu? That's one of the things that we should be doing. But we got a guy
Yeah.
who wants to. I just, man, because I don't know what to, because we're about to get into the cabinet picks.
Yep.
Um,
Let's do it.
and like, I don't quite understand like who would be in charge of that, of things like avian flu, but
There's isn't there an agricultural affairs?
right. And there's also like
Is
the
it yeah,
CDC, the Center for Disease
Brooke L.
Control.
Rollins is agriculture. And yeah, I would assume that would fall under that department, maybe commerce,
Hmm.
commerce, labor. So there's labor, there's commerce, there's agriculture. Trade representative probably wouldn't have much to do with it. EPA, I don't
Hmm.
think they have much to do with it. I don't know what OMB is. What's OMB?
I don't know. Like, yeah, there's a lot I don't know, and I did not have time to go do a deep dive on everything. In fact, how long have we been going? I wish it gave me like
uh,
a,
you can look at our chat time stamp.
I
You
don't,
sent me those links shortly before
that's
started.
right. Oh,
10:29. We've been going for an hour and a half on a 20-minute block.
right. We were supposed to do 20 minutes, but
That's why we also
um,
decided to do this not on a work night.
right, because we know us. We know us. We're chatty Cathys. We're loquacious fellows. We have
Yeah, we
words. We have the
ambitiously
best
tried to
words.
fit 5 topics into one video.
Right, right. And even more stuff kept happening every day that we didn't record it. So I mean, I think in the interest of because we have
5 more things to get
we have
to.
every opportunity to revisit this. Like if we do specials when things happen that need to be talked
Yeah,
about, we
we're
can come
catching
back
you
to
up
these.
right now.
So let's talk about what has happened. So my suggestion is let's talk in more depth about the confirmed cabinet picks, but unless some of them on this announced list, the people he wants that still have to go through confirmation hearings, um,
Take us through the
unless
list.
something jumps out. So like, just to run off names, we've confirmed Scott how do you Besant
Scott
as for
Bessent.
Treasury, Doug Burgum for Interior, Sean Duffy for Transportation, Pete Hegseth for Defense, Kristi Noem for Homeland Security, John Ratcliffe for the CIA, Mark Rubio for Secretary of State, and Lee Zeldin for EPA. Other people that Trump has picked for his cabinet: Pam Bondi as Attorney General, Lori Chavez DeRemer for Labor, Doug Collins for Veterans Affairs, Tulsi Gabbard for National Intelligence, Jameson Greer, Trade Representative, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., HHS. That one probably we should talk about. Kelly Loeffler, SBA, Howard Lutnick, Commerce, Linda McMahon, Education, Brooke L. Rollins, Agriculture, Elise Stefanik. If I'm mispronouncing these, listeners, viewers, please do let me know. For United Nations, I wonder how long her job will last. Scott Turner for HUD, Russell Voigt for OBM, Chris Wright for Energy, and his one failed pick was Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, but he was too crazy even for the Republicans. And
Yeah,
okay, so there's
withdrew amid fallout from a federal sex trafficking investigation that cast doubt on his ability to be confirmed by the Senate.
right. Honestly, I'm surprised they had a problem with it, but I'm glad. I'm glad they had a problem with it.
Oh, they're keeping his number, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All going to his parties. If you want to look at these cabinet picks yourselves out there, we're looking at AP News has a confirmation tracker, and it'll give you basically, and that's what I think we should just read off maybe
their little
Confirmed.
notes.
Yeah. Do you have it up right now? Do you
I
want to
do.
do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we got
Let me get Scott.
Scott Bessent.
That sounds
Bullet
good. I
points,
like
key
that
bullet
pronunciation.
points for him include an advocate for deficit reduction has said he decided to join Trump's campaign in part to attack the mounting US national debt,
Mhm.
including by slashing government programs and other spending.
Right. And they're putting, they want to put, he's in
Interesting.
charge of the Treasury now. Is
Former money manager for George Soros, a big Democratic donor, founded the hedge fund Key Square Capital Management. Would
mm,
be nation's first openly gay Treasury Secretary,
interesting.
and he is confirmed.
Trump appointed a gay guy. I
Yep.
wasn't expecting that.
Nope. So he's fine with it when he makes him money.
Right, right.
Merit.
That's what it is. It's money.
Yeah.
So we have the
So
one black guy and the one gay guy.
well, I haven't
There
finished
could
reading
be
yet. There could
more.
be more.
I'm generalizing and ignorant. I'm an
Um,
ignorant little autodidact trying my best.
Confirmed
Can
Interior
always try
Secretary
harder.
Doug Burgum. We've
Hmm.
got two-term governor of North Dakota and a wealthy software executive.
Wealthy
Um,
software.
Yep, ran for the 2024 GOP presidential nomination, but dropped out and endorsed Trump, campaigning on his behalf for months. Was on Trump's short list for vice president, Doug Burgum.
Hmm.
So he's going to be the Interior Secretary, confirmed. Transportation Secretary. We got comments on this later. A former U.S. House member from Wisconsin and Fox Business host
Right,
who
some guy
was
Trump saw on TV.
who was one of Trump's most visible defenders on cable news,
Hmm.
served in the House for nearly 9 years, sitting on the Financial Services Committee and chairing the subcommittee on insurance and housing. Before entering politics, he was a reality TV star on MTV, where he met his wife, Fox and Friends weekend co-host Rachel Campos Duffy. So great, we got a one Fox
Someone
host,
from Fox News
and he's
and
not the only
reality
one,
TV. No, he's
because our next
not.
one
There
is
are other
Defense
media
Secretary
personalities.
Pete Hegseth, who is a
Hmm.
former co-host of Fox News Channel's Fox and Friends Weekend and contributor with the network since 2014. He served with the Army National Guard from 2002 to 2021, deploying to Iraq in 2005 and Afghanistan in 2011, and earning
Hmm.
two Bronze Stars, but lacks senior military and national security experience. Confirmation prospects came into question after a woman told police that Hegseth sexually assaulted her in 2017, according to a
Right? He
detailed
fits right in.
investigative report recently made public. Reports have surfaced about his drinking, and questions have been raised about his comments that women should not serve in combat. I actually do have a sub note for him.
Mm,
Um, Basically, who he is filling in for. Um, and I need to do more on this because, this is just something that I saw on social media.
right.
But our former defense secretary um, is Lloyd Austin. He was a brigade commander, division commander, corps commander, multinational corps commander, United States Forces commander, vice chief of staff of Army, United States Central commander, awarded the Silver Star and a four-star general. And then our new guy is a former Fox host.
Yeah. Yeah. Who,
Um,
man, I didn't look it up. I don't want to paraphrase or get it wrong. I know he's said some things that I found kind of alarming about what the military should be doing and how they should be doing it. I don't know. I just, he bears further investigation, but he's confirmed, you know.
he is confirmed.
He's our defense secretary.
Yay.
Yay, Fox News.
So other confirmed, we've got Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem.
Uh-huh.
Uh, just met her. Uh, Two-term governor of South Dakota has supported Trump's hardline immigration agenda all the way up from South Dakota,
Hmm.
sending South Dakota troops to the border with Mexico to discourage migrants from
Oh,
entering
right.
the U.S.
Which
Awesome.
is completely unnecessary.
I wonder where
because
her
there's
family comes from.
we got it covered.
Uh, Central Intelligence Agency Director John Ratcliffe looks like he could be played quite well by Steve Carell in
No,
a
for real. That's who I thought it was at first. When
yeah.
I was looking at those pictures, I'm like, wait, no way. What?
Former Texas congressman served as director of national intelligence for the final months of Trump's first term, leading the U.S. government's spy agencies during the coronavirus pandemic. So great, we had
Interesting.
Steve Carell's e
Interesting.
evil doppelganger watching us while we learned how to play the guitar and stuff
Right.
during the pandemic. We've
Weird.
got good old Marco Rubio confirmed
Uh,
as Secretary of State, GOP senator from Florida. Most recently was
right.
vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Ran unsuccessfully against Trump in the 2016 presidential nomination.
Right.
Noted hawk on China, Cuba, uh, and Iran.
Hmm.
So he is deserving of a whole book of
Oh, I
scrutiny.
know. Yeah,
Um,
I know.
then we got EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin mounted a failed bid for governor of New York in 2022. He left Congress in January 23 and was a surprising pick for the role, according to AP News.
Hmm.
Um, his public appearances, both in his own campaigns and on behalf of Trump, often had him speaking about issues such as the military, national security, anti-Semitism, U.S.-Israel relations, immigration, and crime. Our Environmental Protection Agency confirmed pick, speaking on all things completely unrelated to environmental protection.
Right.
Um,
Right.
because anti-Semitism has its place right up there with combustion engines and renewable
Hmm.
resources. But so those are all of our confirmed picks.
Yeah.
Plenty more to go.
Yeah.
Um,
And I I imagine they're all gonna get confirmed. Honestly,
except for
I'm
the one that
pessimistic
hasn't.
about right, except for Matt Gaetz, who honestly I think he
He
pulled
might have removed
himself out of
himself
the
out.
running.
Yeah.
I don't think they officially said no to him. I think they're kind of afraid to say no to anything Trump wants.
They are
But
gearing up to say no to one Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
let us hope the man who wants
They
to take
eviscerated
an
him in
8 year
his Senate
break
hearing.
from studying infectious diseases.
Yeah, he was asked if he, what did he say? Man, I'm trying to think of what I think I actually took screenshots of what I was reading.
Okay.
Let me see here.
Do you know where you were reading it?
It was some Facebook post. I have yet to
Oh,
confirm any of it,
oh. Dubious,
but
but
it was a
they're
transcript of what was said, so I haven't looked at the official transcript.
okay.
And yeah, I didn't save it. But yeah, he was asked because I was seeing it all over headlines, the things he was asked, something about a biological weapon.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. Yeah, they asked him if, so one senator asked him if, they were saying, Mr. Kennedy, do you recall stating that Lyme disease is a government-made biological weapon? And his response
Hmm.
was, I probably said that. Because at that point he had
Well,
been
that sounds crazy. I
absolutely
probably said it. Sounds nuts.
he had been getting torched by the committee
Uh-huh.
on things he has done, things he has said. They asked him if he would continue to, because he's made a fortune prosecuting drug companies. And I believe it was Elizabeth Warren who asked if he would
Nice.
continue to prosecute drug companies. And he's like, well, yeah, what do you want me to do? Stop prosecuting them, for things they should be held accountable for? And they're like, sir, do you understand that you're supposed to be regulating the drug companies with your new position?
Right.
How are you supposed
Right.
to stand to gain profit by prosecuting the very companies you are supposed to regulate? And he was left
Hmm.
speechless, apparently. because there's a massive conflict of interest
Massive.
with his former actions, his views, and where how he stands to gain profit from his position.
Right, right. Which is a
And
common thing. A lot of people involved, either officially or unofficially in the Trump administration stand to profit directly from it.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, he's walking back several stances. During his appearance on a 23 podcast, he questioned vaccine safety and said
oh yeah.
no vaccine is safe and effective.
He wanted to, at one point he said, and I watched him say it. I don't remember, I don't know where you can look this up, but he said that he wanted to ban vaccines in the United States. And that was recently, just across the board, ban vaccines. Mm-mm. That's when it's time to get out. That's when we'll be fleeing to Mexico and hope they let us in. I mean,
Yeah.
because I don't want to
No,
live in a country with
and the
no
fact that he
vaccines. We can't
flip-flops
do it.
between Democratic and
Oh
independent, and now
yeah.
he's,
Now he's
Trump's
a
pick.
yeah. Yeah,
They
it's like
asked
he
him about
doesn't really seem
abortion,
to
and he
have
has flipped
he doesn't really
depending
seem to
on
have
who supports him.
standards.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, Kennedy compared the CDC's vaccine program to Nazi death camps.
that's what I'm saying. You want to get rid of vaccines. Nazi death camps will keep you from getting polio. I guess I don't see the similarities there.
Kennedy said, quote, tremendous circumstantial evidence, end quote, linked to school shootings and antidepressants. Um,
But let's
so,
not talk about guns.
right. Pesticide in the water supply contributes to sexual dysphoria in kids. Um,
Right. And
he
does he
he
have
said, no, I never said that. But his actual quote was, quote, I think a lot of the problems we see in kids and particularly boys, it's probably underappreciated how much of that is coming from chemical exposures, including a lot of the sexual dysphoria that we're seeing. Interesting. Yeah,
uh-huh.
Kennedy falsely claimed COVID-19 was targeted to attack Caucasians and black people.
Hmm.
So yeah, he's an interesting pick. He's certifiably batshit crazy
Right.
by a lot of metrics.
Right. Right.
Um, and I mean, he was not to throw anybody else that experienced this under the boat or anything, but he was controlled by a brain parasite,
Oh,
and
right.
and
I forgot about that.
now I think the remnants of it are still controlling him like a giant meat robot. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, like he had some brain worm or something. Like
yeah, and
clearly,
and
clearly
again,
a worm has been burrowing through your
not to
noodles.
undermine other people, good people that are going through the
Right.
same thing,
Right. But I mean, come
because
on, like if you
the
got
jokes
that
write
many,
themselves.
right. It just mm, mm.
Hmm.
But like
Interesting pick.
right. Yeah. They're all interesting picks and it's like we spent way a lot of time on the inauguration.
Yeah.
Like I don't
I mean,
um
and this. So this is something that I did want to say. I meant to say this at the beginning, and we're about to get more into what I'm getting at here. And before we
uh
do, I wanted to mention this. What Trump is doing, what his administration is doing right now, is a form of uh, psychological warfare.
mm,
They are the rapid fire executive orders,
right.
the shock and awe approach to the transition of power is meant to overwhelm your capacity for empathy and your ability to research.
Right. It's supposed to make you not care anymore. Just
And so
okay, more crazy, moving on, which
more and more.
yeah.
And so it makes it hard for us to unify on any one
Hmm.
specific thing when we're literally watching friends and family get ripped from their homes, ripped from their workplaces. We're watching,
Schools. Like,
planes explode in midair, and
Uh-huh.
we're watching, so it's a tactic.
Mm-hmm.
It and the multitude of very impactful executive orders that have been signed, which we're
Mm-hmm.
about to transition into talking about, it's on purpose. And
Yes.
a lot of
Because a
them,
lot of them are impotent. A lot of them are DOA. And
yeah,
one
they're
of the things I
DOA,
want
but
us
they're
to
meant
talk
to
about is which
distract.
ones should we actually be concerned about and which ones should we be laughing at,
And so my
as
point,
horrible as they are.
yeah, my point with that was we've got, what is this, 22 positions here,
Mm-hmm.
22 people with careers that all need to be scrutinized. And you and I are just two people. We're just
Right,
two average
exactly.
Americans with day jobs and social lives.
Right.
And,
Autodidacts, not experts.
it's
Yeah,
impossible to commit to scrutinizing every detail of every one of these picks' lives.
exactly.
The one thing we are able to scrutinize on, if anything else, is the ramifications from an administration.
Mm-hmm.
An
Agreed.
administration as a body, what have they done in the past for us, and what do they promise to do in the future?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the essence of these picks. They are becoming part of a bigger body. And what that body intends to do is what we are able to scrutinize um, with the most intention. And
Yes.
so if you feel that you need to do research on everyone as a listener, as a voter, that you need to do research on every one of these, and you have the time to do so, by all means.
Mm-hmm.
But it is
But
difficult.
right. And again, it's not really going to get you anywhere because you don't get a vote.
You don't get a vote.
Like
You're supposed to get a vote.
Congress gets to say you got to vote when you voted for the president. The
And when you voted
president
for the
gets to pick his
senators.
yeah, you vote for the people who choose these people.
Yep.
Um, but it's just a matter of knowing who's doing what, knowing what we're getting. But it's not, you can't do anything about these,
It should be
really.
it should
That's
be frightening to get a
right.
Fox News host as any form of presidential power,
Right.
presidential appointee. Like any
Yeah,
seat of
and it
power going
is.
to a Fox with Friends on the weekend host is alarming.
Right. Like, there are a lot of people on this list who terrify me as
Yeah.
far as being in these positions. And that's one of those things like, how much energy can we waste worrying about these guys? It's
Yeah, when our vote directly impacts the guy that's picking these guys.
right. And so, yeah, it's good to be aware of what's going on. Because like if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gets in, God forbid,
Yeah.
then we need to be aware that there is a maniac in that position. We need to it's what we need to really research are the things these people regulate. Like food, drugs, water, things that diseases. Like we need to educate ourselves on how to take care of ourselves because we may not be able to trust the government to any degree to regulate things, to look out for our best interests. That's where I think our research energy should really go, is how do we take care of ourselves when these people are running the country? And at what point are they going to make it impossible for us to take care of ourselves? And then what do we do then?
They largely
Um,
have. Like,
yeah.
housing crisis, grocery prices rising.
Uh-huh.
It's that we are so dependent on our oligarchic rulers for
Right.
crumbs.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right. Yeah. I mean, these people are there. They're there to deregulate. They're there to make everything better for the billionaires.
yeah,
Speaking of
while
oligarchies.
while keeping us alive.
Right. So that we can
Like,
continue to generate money for the billionaires.
yes. And so, I mean, on to the firings, I suppose.
Right. Because now we've looked at who he's bringing in. Let's look at who he's taking out.
Take the
And
lead.
keep in mind, like again, with as far as things we shouldn't be alarmed about, it isn't alarming in itself that, old people are going out, new people are going in. That's any administration. They're going to bring in their own people. However, there are some people that are not supposed to be able to be fired. There are some people who you can fire them, but there is a process that isn't being observed. Um, those are the alarming things. And then it's the things where there's a politically, like, where he's, going against his own promise to stop weaponizing the government against political enemies. Like that kind of thing is what's alarming. And these are things like the firings, unlike some of his impotent executive orders, which we will get to right after this. He is actually doing these things. Like, let's see. And I sent you, do you have that link up? This is also, there's an AP News article that's keeping a list of all of the firings. And I think, like it didn't I don't think the FAA is on their list. I don't think they're as caught up because one of those things like that he did that's in the headlines right now as we're recording this is that he gutted the FAA, including the head of the FAA and key safety committees. And so then American Airlines, was it American Airlines
A
airplane?
subsidiary.
Okay. But it had
It
a
was it was
mid-air
American it
collision
was
with a
American
military
Airlines.
helicopter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was a smaller sect of American Airlines.
Okay. Okay. But still,
Yeah, this was
commercial
not
airplane
yeah.
had a mid-air collision with a military helicopter.
Yep.
Over 60 people died. And it's the first time anything like that has happened in nearly 2 decades. And it's right after, and of course Trump is blaming the
DEI.
Biden administration and for their woke policies. That's what caused that. It's the DEI, um,
Diversity, equality, and inclusiveness.
inclusiveness. Okay, that's the three. But that's what caused the plane. No, okay. Speaking of impotent executive orders, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it ties right into this. Today, today that interesting president of ours signed a like I don't know, was it an executive order? They're calling it an executive order. I think it's more of a just a presidential statement. There's an actual official term for it that's just escaping my mind right now.
Statute.
No, not a statute. I don't know, but they're calling it an executive order. He signed it, all smug that he signed something saying that officially it was DEI that caused the midair collision. And I'm
Oh
like, you,
wow.
you can't do that. What the hell mentally is wrong with you that you think that's going to make it true? I signed an executive order that says DEI was officially the cause. We've looked into it. Just it was entertaining watching the reporters question him or
Because like of all of the excuses you could offer, black people in the
equality caused
workplace.
this.
Yeah.
Look, because he said it's just common sense to
Yeah.
think that. Because of course, if you're just hiring brown people, you're not hiring qualified people. If you're just hiring gay people or trans people or women, you know, you're gonna have plane crashes. You should hire qualified people instead of all those people. And then they wonder why we call them racist. But he straight up says policies of equality caused mid-air collision between a commercial airplane and a military helicopter. That makes absolutely no sense on
Yeah.
any level.
I've got an article from the like basically a transcript of what was said during the press conference on the same news outlet, the
Mhm.
AP News. One reporter asked, "Are you saying this crash was somehow caused as the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?"
I
Trump
saw that. Yeah.
responded with, "It could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else." And there are things, God, It's so hard to read, like, because I can hear him
I
say
know.
it. And there are things where you have to go by brain power.
Oh God.
You have to go you have to go by psychological quality, and psychological quality is a very important element of it. These are various very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden. And Biden went by a standard that seeks the exact opposite. So we don't know. But what we do know that you had two planes at the same level. One was a helicopter. You had
Mhm.
a helicopter and a plane. Oh, he corrected himself. Uh, that shouldn't have happened, and we'll see. We're going to look into that, and we're going to see. But certainly for an air traffic controller, we want the brightest, smartest, the sharpest. We want somebody that's psychologically superior, and that's what we're going to have.
Right, not equality, but someone psychologically superior.
Yeah, he
What do you,
basically
what
said
does he
that
mean by that?
if you're not white,
Yeah,
you're inferior.
right,
Um,
right. So it
you
was
have,
the DEI policies. It had nothing to do with him gutting the FAA.
yeah,
No,
no,
and
any,
didn't they put a hiring freeze on it? So they have no
yeah.
one running the place. They have these safety committees are gone. They're
Do
just
you
gone.
do you
And
know
it's
the
not, it's
number one,
DEI.
the highest suicide rate of any profession in the United States?
I know dentists and authors are up there.
The number one by a massive margin is an air traffic controller.
No doubt. That makes so much sense. I would be so stressed out if that were my job.
Yeah, it pays well, but it has the highest rate of workplace suicide,
Hmm.
or suicide by workplace, I should say. But yeah, no, exactly what you said is continued on further in the article. You have today blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistake. You then said perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistake, and Trump responded with, "It's all under investigation." The same reporter responds with, "I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash." And Trump said, "Because I have common sense,
Common
okay?"
sense.
And unfortunately, a lot of people
Oh,
don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level. Oh God, I would love to play Trump in chess. Uh,
oh my
when you have
God.
60
He's
planes
the
coming in during a
queen.
short period of time, they're all coming in different directions, and you're dealing with very high level computer work, and very complex computers. Trump, who
Oh,
can't find the Chipotle app on his iPhone.
he's so
Uh,
stupid.
But yeah, so he's getting flamed by the media, by any rational media
Hmm.
outlet,
Right,
for
exactly. Like
even,
Fox News is trying to prop him up and talk all about how the equality policies are
it's
just
too early to
preventing people
blame
from
anything.
hiring quality people.
It's too early to blame anybody or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing you
But
can blame is the hubris of man for flying too close to the sun.
let's
Like at
blame let's blame Daedalus.
Icarus.
Let's blame Icarus. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, because that's all you can blame at this point. We are people flying in the sky with man-made contraptions. Sometimes we bump into each other.
Right.
You know, a
But
good friend
it's
of mine refuses to fly anywhere,
hmm
which makes traveling hell with this
hmm
individual. And they message me saying exactly why I'm never getting on a plane. And I'm just like, great. Uh, with me with stats guy, where you are much more likely to. This is the deadliest crash in over two
it's been
decades.
yeah, it's been almost 20
Two,
years. It's been
two,
about
2001, 260 people died in New York,
mm,
when a jetliner crashed shortly after takeoff. Um,
yeah.
but you're more likely to die in a car accident anytime you go out to get Starbucks. you know,
Right.
and so, but logic has no place in the world of rational fears. Um, but yeah, to even blame it on anything at this point, all he had to say was it's under investigation. We're going to
Right.
figure it
Yeah.
out. That's all he had to say, because that's all that can be said at that point. I don't know
hmm
why anybody, I don't, I actually loathe the fact that the president has to make a comment on every little thing that happens tragically.
Yeah.
Like he's
Right.
supposed to have an answer.
Hmm.
Um, they're briefed on things every day that are probably
Right.
much more bigger than we'll ever know.
But
I'm
he
not trying to get,
had just made some decisions and some mass firings that
yes.
did affect the ability to keep the airways safe, you know?
And I
And
mean,
that's
that should be
why,
investigated as well. You
right.
know,
But that's why he's throwing equality out there. There's a reason, and it's not me. Move on.
yeah,
It's the woke.
right. Excuses
Uh-huh.
and distraction tactics.
Yeah, the
And
boogeyman did it. The boogeyman that you voted for me to protect you from, that's who did it.
I'm surprised he didn't blame drag queens.
Right, it's drag queen story time. Like if
Yeah,
they hadn't just been sitting there listening to the drag queens read them about two male penguins getting married, we none of this would have
it was
happened.
China. Yeah,
Chinese drag queen.
Chinese drag queens.
Like I want to like see the ultimate MAGA boogeyman. Like, what does that look
Oh
like?
man,
Is put all of their
I'll talk to
fears
my
into
political cartoonist
one
friends.
being. Get Stephen King to write a novel about it because I don't want to.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe I do.
But yeah, so he fired a bunch of people and then a bunch of people died as a indirect
Yeah,
result of that.
right.
Possibly
It's just it's
possibly.
yeah. You can only really it's very
Because I
likely
mean,
a coincidence.
my boss gets fired. I can still do my job the next day. That's all I'm saying.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
I don't know how much
exactly.
of it is the same for air traffic controllers. I don't know how much of the firings are to directly blame
Uh-huh. But
for
it's a
any of
bad
this.
look. At
It's a
this
bad
point,
look,
you can
and
definitely say this is a bad look. You
yeah,
fire all these people and then things start going to shit. Hmm.
hmm, interesting. Yeah, so he's firing the FBI.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's his plan. I don't know if he's done it yet. I mean, last I heard, it was still in the plans. The agents who worked on investigating January 6th, which I think is thousands of agents.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he wants to fire all of them for investigating something. That's that is crazy. And that, kids, is what you call fascism,
Yeah, using your
authoritarianism.
economic or using your presidential power to go after your political enemies. I
Right.
think one president admonished that in his inauguration
Yeah, yeah.
speech.
There was some president who said, we're going to stop that.
Yeah.
We're going to not have that shit going on, but here we are.
Yeah.
That was the
Days
other
in.
Trump. He has many in his head. He keeps 7 journals well, for all his different personalities.
You should cook up one that has some actual common sense
Right. I don't
because
think you can.
he has the mind of a spoon-fed boomer baby. And like he can't, like you said, he didn't know what groceries meant. He's like, I love the word groceries. I just heard that word for the first time.
And I
And,
started using it. It's a very interesting word. What
you know,
the?
I, yeah,
You are not
God.
in touch with the people. You are not in touch with the people.
Yeah,
You
I
are.
don't think that man has ever been inside a Walmart.
No, there's no way. There is no way that guy would step foot in a Walmart.
Yeah,
Um,
he would lock his doors as soon as the cart wrangler comes near his car.
no, that guy has his groceries delivered and doesn't know what they're called. He doesn't even order them. Someone else does it for him. If he orders food,
I
it's
like this fruit. What's it
McDonald's.
called,
It's
sir?
a
That's an
mountain
orange.
of Big Macs.
Hmm. I like fruit. This one looks like
Yeah.
me. I think I will
Right.
call these Trumperines. But
But
yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So,
he's
oh,
firing the FBI. He's firing anybody who had anything to do with any of his cases.
right. Oh, and all those attorneys general across the government. That's one place where, it's illegal. It's against the law to fire them in the manner in which he did. You need a 30-day, you need to notify Congress, I think. I mean, you can check me on this. Um, I
I
think you
believe
have
he's
to tell
attempting to
Congress
buy them
first,
out.
and then you have to oh, that's next. That yeah. Like but the attorneys general in particular. You need to have 30 days. He hadn't even been in office a week when he did this. And the president has to fire them directly after Congress, but he had it done in a week, didn't go through Congress and didn't do it in person. He had a minion fire them. So technically, if I were one of them, I'd just show up for work. Feel like
Mhm.
you didn't fire me. That's not how you fire me. You can't just do that. That's not legal. But yeah, the buyout offer I think is kind of hilarious. Like anyone who goes for that deserves what they don't get because, it's an offer from Trump and Musk and Trump, the notorious deadbeat who doesn't pay people. And, Congress hasn't approved. Congress holds the purse strings. Congress has not authorized any funds for paying people off to get them to resign. But he's promising this. I think there's a deadline on that. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but
Um,
one of the firings I'm reading here was the abrupt removal of Gwen Wilcox from the National Labor Relations Board leaves the
mm,
agency, quote, out of business
hmm
unless a replacement is nominated, they warned. A real danger to the independence of regulators and adjudicators now that Trump is back in the White House. Um,
right.
Goes on to say there's a real danger in attacking the existence of independent regulatory agencies, particularly independent adjudicators, she added.
hmm
Congress made a judgment that certain areas of critical government decision making should be insulated from the day-to-day influence of the president. I think that's particularly important when we're talking about people who are functionally serving as judges.
hmm
Um, but yeah,
hmm.
so he's making moves whether he's supposed to be or not,
Right. And
whether
just
he has the
saying, try
authority
and
to.
stop me.
Yeah,
And seeing if anyone has the balls to say, hey, you can't do that.
which has been his approach to life.
Surrounds himself with yes men and then dares them to stop him.
He is I think he might be like the world-renowned leader of something called dummy suits, which is where
Hmm.
you take somebody to
Oh,
court
uh-huh.
because you know that they can't
Right.
pay court costs. And
hmm
so it's basically filibustering
Yeah, pretty
um,
much.
in a courtroom where you want to financially cripple somebody who won't go in on a deal with you or won't make a deal with you, or you want to buy somebody out, and so you just litigate and litigate and litigate and litigate because you have money to spare. You know that
hmm
they do not. And he
Right.
is largely known for doing that. He
hmm
files like, in New York, man, he filed so many. That was one of the things I was reading about during his first term was all of his dummy suits, as they called
hmm
them. And,
Yeah, he sues everybody.
and knowing he can't win, he just throws money at the wall because he can, and he
hmm
knows the other can't. And so, yeah, his entire career is built off of pushing the limits of what people will allow him to do and getting a
Yeah.
little slap on the wrist when he's done and then, trotting off somewhere to do it somewhere else.
Right.
And you can
Right.
guarantee he'll be back. And I mean, I haven't looked into the veracity of this, but apparently one of his main reasons why he set his eyes on the Panama Canal is because apparently he had a real estate endeavor go badly in Panama, and now he
Ah,
wants to punish Panama.
right. It's got to be personal with him, or he
Yeah,
doesn't care.
he doesn't. No. Like, you think he cares about coal miners? If he cared about coal
No.
miners, he'd be educating them on jobs that don't kill them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
I mean, I know that the children yearn for the mines, but come on. Yeah, so I mean, he's abusing his power. It's plain
Oh
as day
yeah,
for
he's
anybody
already
with eyes to
plain as
see.
day.
And
He does not care about the Constitution he just swore to uphold.
so,
Move. Oh,
people involved with actively trying to stop him are going to age 50 years in the next 4 years.
right. If you have to pick your battles.
As he is running around setting things on fire, you
hmm
can guarantee that, hardworking protectors of American democracy are going to be chasing him down with fire
Yeah.
extinguishers.
Yeah.
But how many of these fires can we put out? It's
Mhm.
problematic, and we're
How
witnessing it
many
in
of
real
them are
time.
actually dangerous? How many of them are he lit a candle and someone
Right,
screamed fire, you know, and
right.
it's gonna put itself out or not go anywhere? Some of these could set the walls on fire,
Yeah, he
but
put a
some of
candle right
them,
next to curtains
right,
with a fan blowing in that direction.
right.
Yeah,
Um,
but so yeah, firings problematic.
yeah, but moving on, are you ready to move on
Yep,
to executive orders? Because,
yep.
this is where we really can start looking at can he or can't he? Like he did, but can he? Like, does it matter that he did this executive order? And this is one where I think I would really like us to just go down the list of just how many has he done so far?
Uh, they're not numbered, but
But
I
I want to
believe
say he's
a
done, was
number
it
a number that I saw
30
was
something
30.
or
Yeah,
30
30
something?
plus.
Yeah. So all the executive orders Trump has signed so far. And this is from The Guardian. So we've got, and we can go back to some of these. I'm just gonna, migrant detention center at Guantanamo Bay, gender affirming care, reshaping the military, start a process to develop an American Iron Dome. Maybe we should actually, yeah,
Yeah,
we
almost
should we
so
should
far
just go into
38.
these.
38 in less than 2
38.
weeks, and it's unprecedented.
So, the migrant detention center at Guantanamo Bay, the order, Trump signed an executive order to prepare a huge detention facility at Guantanamo Bay that he said could be used to hold up to 30,000 immigrants deported from the U.S. We are reading this from The Guardian. What Trump said about it, Guantanamo could detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Trump said during the signing of the Lake and Riley Act, another of his administration's hardline immigration policies. What it means, the order is part of a broader effort to fulfill Trump's promise to remove millions of people from the country. Gender affirming care, the order. Trump signed an order that attempts to end gender transition for people under 19. The order directs that federally run insurance programs, including TRICARE for military families and Medicaid, exclude coverage for such care. The order calls on the Department of Justice to vigorously pursue litigation and legislation to oppose the practice. So, let's see, gender transitions for people under 19,
I've
not
already,
common.
yeah, no, not common, and I've already seen people that are affected by it because it says under 19, but more and more states are becoming bold at the state level
Right, right,
and trying to pass further bills that would target the transgender community.
right,
Um, and we had Medicaid shut down and freeze, then it was unfreezed,
right,
and
right.
there are people that are already being affected by that rely on those
Right,
hormones.
because there's drugs like, and it's not like gender affirming care is not just gender reassignment surgery.
No,
It's
it's
not just
much
a,
more than that.
yes, because a lot of it is like, especially for people,
Under 19,
minors,
yeah.
it's not, you don't take your kindergartner in to have their gender surgically reassigned. What they can do is puberty blockers for like, teenagers or preteens who are about to hit puberty, and all it does is postpone puberty until they are older and can make a decision as an adult. That is the opposite of the fear mongering, and that takes drugs, drugs that block puberty.
Drugs that are
So you
signed
don't
off on
develop, if
by
you think
medical
you're a female,
practitioners.
yes, yes, like the professionals agree that this is the best thing to do because it gives
Yeah,
you longer to figure out, is this really the way I want to go, or is this confused? Is it something else? Is it going to, have time, to sit with it. A kid making that kind of decision, you know, I don't think,
It's not up to the parent either. Like people
right,
like to tout that the parent is the one promoting it,
right,
but
they're not promoting it.
the
They're,
the 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 doctor allows it. The
uh-huh,
doctor is listening to the psychiatrist, the
right,
is
right.
listening to the child. I don't even know if the parent is allowed to be in the room while that
It
practitioner,
depends,
yeah, I mean, if the kid
but
allows it, I guess.
yeah, but,
But
um,
they are
but,
operating with their own autonomy in the presence of a medical practitioner.
right, but they're not, they can't get the surgery.
Yeah, no.
They can't get, like drugs that will in fact start changing their bodies. Like they can get puberty blockers, they can get counseling. When they are of age, they can make decisions that adults can make. The boogeyman is not under your bed here,
No, and I
but
mean,
here's
this
a
could,
executive order to get the boogeyman
yeah,
anyway.
gender affirming care could be as
Hurting
simple as
kids.
counseling.
Exactly.
It doesn't even have to include
Counseling.
drugs, but it
Or just
includes,
accepting someone's choice of dress.
yeah, no. And so, I mean, gender affirming care, the order, you know, what it means is directs at federally run insurance programs
Hmm.
do not cover such care. And so we're not
Right.
even talking like you already pointed out, we're not talking about transition surgery. We may not even be talking about the drugs here. We could be talking about
Right.
as simple
Counseling.
as what insurance would normally cover for any
Hmm.
other issue now will not cover even counseling.
Right. Yeah, and there's
And
a lot of military families that are affected by this who are enraged. They're like, I risk my life for this country and they won't let me care for my child the way that I see fit as a parent. you
right,
know? And again, we're targeting 2% of the population here. Why? This is just attacking a minority, a vulnerable minority. It's not protecting me.
it's not
It's
lowering
not
gas prices.
protecting anyone. It's not making eggs cheaper. It's just hurting transgender kids and their families.
It's just making good
Um,
on his promises.
right, making good on his promises to fight the fucking boogeyman. Next one, reshaping the military. The order. Trump signed three executive orders on January 27th that would reshape the military, removing diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, eliminating gender radicalism, in
Quote,
quotation marks, from the military, and reinstating soldiers who were expelled for refusing COVID-19 vaccines, which we talked about earlier.
yeah,
What it means, Trump's order does not yet ban transgender soldiers from the military, but directs the Pentagon to create a policy for trans members of the military.
boy, that one's one to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
that what it means is very um ambiguous.
Right. And ambiguous is dangerous when it comes to the law, in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
useful perhaps if you're a lawyer, but
And
also,
useful if you're writing a constitution for a country.
yeah, yeah. But,
Because some things should be left up to interpretation. Actual restructuring of the military should
mhm.
probably be as detailed as possible.
Right. And like as soon as this executive order was signed, um they expelled teaching about the black soldiers in World War II from military training. They stopped mentioning women in service in the military in World War II, but then they quickly reinstated that stuff. Like there's been a couple of things like that. Like, like when Medicaid and Medicare vanished and then they were back because of the public outcry. But, that's what they were, we don't need to we need to remove diversity, equity,
Hmm.
and inclusion efforts from the military, reshape the military into heterosexual white cis men. But we can't call them cisgender because
Daddy Musk won't
whatever.
allow it.
Right. He can, yeah. Okay, so the next one, start a process to develop an American Iron Dome. And this is, I think, about missiles.
Yeah,
Uh,
missile defense.
Trump signed an executive order on January 27th that would begin the process of creating a next generation missile defense shield, which the administration is referring to as the American Iron Dome. What it means, creating a short-range missile defense system akin to Israel's Iron Dome, would take years to build. The order calls for a plan from the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, within 60 days.
Former
So he's got
Fox
to come up
News
with
host.
a plan to create an Iron Dome.
Yeah,
I mean,
Mr.
it's always,
Mr.
I'm
National
just like,
Guard.
oh, so this calls for this guy to come up with a plan within 2 months. That makes me not so. And I mean, what? It's a defense thing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't see anything alarming in this executive order. It's just I don't know if it's going to happen because one of his idiot picks has to come up with a plan. His
Yeah,
Fox News guy. Okay, next one. Review of disaster agency FEMA, which I know they've been making noise. He wants to get rid of it.
right.
Let the states take up the duties of FEMA. Right, right. We have a
Yeah, when a
disaster
state
in the state where we need help and we're supposed to give ourselves
deal
that
with it.
help. Good idea. Okay, so the order. Trump ordered a review of Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, the disaster response agency, and suggested there is political bias in the agency. Trump previously criticized the agency's response to Hurricane Helene. What it means, a review council, which includes the Secretaries of Defense and Homeland Security, Pete Hegseth and Kristi Noem, will report to Trump within 180 days. So this nothing. I know a lot of them are saying we need to get rid of FEMA, um, because they don't like having to deal with these disasters. Trump in his last term, I remember, specifically did not want to help blue states, states that didn't vote for him. He even said, "Well, they should have voted for me." Um, he's been complaining about California's current situation with the fires
Yeah.
and blaming them for like doing stupid things. Like he's like, we returned water to California. They opened the dams and they got rid of all the water that was stored up for the dry months for the farmers, and now they don't have water, which is again going to affect grocery prices in not the bringing them down kind of way. Um, but yeah, so there's that. Don't let me talk over you if you have something to say.
No.
I'm just kind of running through these, but
Yeah, the next one is interesting.
Oh yeah, this one actually I don't see anything wrong with this. I'm into it. Declassifying MLK and JFK files. I'm actually surprised he did this. So Trump ordered the release of thousands of classified documents on the assassinations of John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. What it means, Trump made this promise during the election campaign and made a similar pledge in his first term, but ultimately heeded appeals from the CIA and FBI to withhold some documents. Now, see, that's interesting because we don't know what's in there. And again, if it's a matter of national security legitimately, then he shouldn't be just recklessly declassifying things.
And
But if it's a matter of they just don't wanna, then yeah, we should have that information. It's been a while. It's been like 60-ish years since the
yeah,
Kennedy and MLK assassinations. It was the 1960s.
yeah. So yeah, and I mean we'll talk about more about that later. Because I have a lot of thoughts on that aren't uh privy to the conversation at hand.
Oh, but we do have an episode planned about conspiracy theories. Is that what
Yes,
you're talking
yes,
about?
exactly.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Maybe we'll
Uh
have some more documents at hand.
yeah, maybe if we're still here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If we haven't had to flee to Canada. Um,
I'm going to Mexico. They got good
really?
tequila down there.
See, I don't know. I like cooler climates.
Not me, man. I like temperate all day. I like a
Right.
nice
That's
90
my
degree
dad. That's
day.
why my dad long ago fled to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I always tell people he faked his death and moved to Costa Rica.
I'm gonna go live with the
Um,
orangutans.
right. He's always got monkeys outside his window. But he's always like when it was freezing, he sent me all these pictures of what he had. Just this beautiful. It's always 70 degrees.
Yeah.
It's always green. Anyway, so next executive order was removing barriers to AI innovation and investing in digital financial assets. Okay. The order. During his first week in office, Trump signed an executive order calling for a review of all Biden policies on AI to remove policies that act as barriers to American AI innovation. A second order called for a working group to start work on crypto regulations. And this one makes me nervous. So what it
Yeah.
means, former PayPal executive David Sachs has been tasked with leading a group to develop an AI action plan. Meanwhile, another working group will start work on crypto regulations. AI is making me nervous right now for many reasons. It's like a toddler driving a school bus. I've been playing with it. I've been experimenting with it. I've been having conversations with it. I'm very unimpressed with its abilities, and I think we're giving it to, it's a toddler driving a school bus. We're putting it in too many things. I think it needs to be regulated right now. We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
We don't know what we've created, basically.
Right. And it's learning behavioral complex is still, or behavioral matrix is still top down, which I fear a bottom up more than a top down, and we have
Uh-huh.
yet to make any bottom up. No AI has been born yet.
Right.
We have created it,
Hmm.
and it has been given tasks to learn um,
Right.
with code, and been told this is how, if you are told this, you respond with this, and then it keeps being told new
Hmm.
things, and so it is constantly learning. But what's more
Right.
scary would be an AI created AI,
No, yeah, exactly.
like
When it
something
starts
born.
reproducing.
Yes, and it's already happening. I already have an article saved about, and there's, it was an experiment to see if they could get an AI to create another AI, and they did, but they coded enough into the AI knowledge-wise
Uh-huh.
to where it'd be a shock if it didn't code another AI.
Right.
And
Right.
so
It's interesting,
scary.
but this executive order in itself, like this is the kind of thing, it's kind of like a candle. Like
Hmm.
he didn't deregulate AI. He called for a working group to start work on crypto regulations. He called to let's see, review all of Biden's policies on AI. And
Yeah, I mean,
he
crypto needs to be
tasked
regulated.
and David Sachs has been tasked with leading a group to develop an AI action plan. So this really didn't do much of anything except say, let's look at it.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the problem
extremist
with
view is, oh, Trump's going to deregulate all the AI. We're just examining it.
right. And deregulating AI and regulating crypto. Crypto
Hmm.
is a good thing to regulate because
Oh
crypto
yeah,
has the reason why
but
crypto
he's
started in the first place
mhm,
was for illegal purposes, for human trafficking,
right.
for drug trafficking, for
Hmm.
the one of the problems with paper money is it gets blood on it. And
Right, right.
it is traceable because of
Hmm.
serial numbers, because of federal regulation on a
Right,
currency. Crypto
right.
is untraceable,
Hmm.
and it can be used to buy people, for Christ's sake,
Right,
and
right.
with no tracing back. And so it needs to be regulated.
Yeah, but
And
then, he goes and starts his own, didn't he?
yeah, and meme
And
coins.
right, it's the same basic. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But again, it's literally, it does need to be regulated. Both of these things need to be regulated, and all they're really doing is examining what's there.
Big one
We'll
next.
see. but he wants to remove barriers. That's what makes me nervous to AI innovation. But okay, next one, yeah, ending birthright citizenship. The order. On his first day in office, Trump targeted automatic citizenship for US born children of both undocumented people and some legal immigrants. What it means, birthright citizenship, which guarantees citizenship to anyone born on US soil, is protected by the 14th Amendment, and any attempt to revoke it will bring immediate legal challenges. The order was temporarily blocked on January 23rd, with the judge calling it blatantly unconstitutional. And it is.
because it
Like
is.
the Trump can't do this. He did this, but he can't. Like,
This is one of the ones. I
like,
mean, this is one of the big ones. A lot of these
right. This is one of the
I
ones.
wasn't aware of,
Hmm.
because a lot of them are sort of like we've been talking about. They're not bad. Like, a lot
Right.
of these aren't bad, and so those are the ones that the media is not covering.
Right. But ending birthright citizenship,
Is huge
or it could
and
be if
and
he could do
hugely
it.
unconstitutional.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's why it's like he didn't. This is the one that's getting people the most upset, or one of the ones that's getting people the most upset. And it's one of the most impotent ones. Like, this
yeah,
is one of the ones to me that we shouldn't even be worried about. Because
right.
in order to amend the Constitution, that it needs to pass two-thirds in the House and the Senate, and then it goes to the states to be ratified.
Two-thirds of
And
three-fourths of states have to ratify it.
three-fourths of the states have to,
More than two-thirds.
yeah,
A
and two-thirds
massive
of
majority.
Congress. Like, it's not happening, in my opinion, at least at this point,
No.
until it
The
actually goes to Congress and passes Congress, until it goes to the states, we don't have to worry about this.
Right. And the problem
You
more
can't do it with an
lies with the
executive order.
precedent.
Right.
That's where the issue lies, and because it causes panic, and not only does it cause panic, it causes his point and follow uh constituents to think, yeah, we should do that.
Uh-huh. Oh, right. Right. Because he's about it, so then they'll be about it.
Because
In
here's the
birthright
issue.
citizenship.
He
Mm.
got 55% of the vote of Americans. So that's halfway. That's more than halfway to three-quarters of the state's people voting
He
for
didn't
what
get,
he.
I don't think he got 55%. He didn't get over, he got less than 50% of the popular vote. He still got more popular votes than Biden, but neither one of them got, so it's not a mandate. Neither one of them got more than even 50% of the votes. They both got less than 50%.
Yeah, so I mean, well, he got close
Oh,
to
just a
50%.
fact check.
Yeah.
He got darn near
Yeah, he got
an alarming number.
49.9% of the
Yeah.
vote. And so that
Hmm.
is more than halfway to three-quarters of the state's people.
Right. It's frightening.
And so that's why it's scary because you're talking like it could never happen, when in
Hmm.
reality, half of the country
Right.
it supports what he says
Yeah.
and his position. And so that's
But I
very,
don't think it'll get that far, at least not right, not in the next 2 years,
but
for
it starts
sure,
the
because there's no
conversation.
way he's going to get two-thirds of Congress,
Yeah, I
because the
mean,
Republicans have a majority, but they don't have a super majority.
right, right. Luckily, we have checks and balances for as long as we
Right.
do.
Right. So
Um,
they're hanging on by a thread, but
and so it's still alarmingly frightful. It's impotent, as you said,
mhm.
but the audacity to challenge the Constitution in an executive order is frightening for sure.
Yeah, and you're right. Like the conversation starter, getting
The
Trump people to think.
and it starts the misinformation mill
Uh-huh.
where people are it starts panic. It
Hmm.
distracts us from other pertinent issues.
Right.
And so it is extremely volatile, even as impotent as it is.
Hmm. Right.
And because you've got people running scared and not
Hmm.
looking around them. You got people running into traffic essentially without
Right. Well,
looking
it's
both
screaming
ways.
fire in a theater.
Yeah,
It's not on fire.
right. And so I mean it
It could cause damage.
yeah, and but luckily it is protected by our Constitution. And
Right.
so yeah,
Okay, leaving the World Health Organization, Trump signed an order to have the US exit the World Health Organization. I didn't skip one. Oh, I did skip one. I'll go back up. Um, what it means the US will leave the WHO in 12 months' time and stop all financial contributions to its work. The US is the biggest financial backer to the United Nations Health Agency. That one's problematic.
problematic for sure. Yeah, I mean that's one of the big ones. That's one of the big
Yeah.
ones that came down and flooded over social media as just a
hmm
a moron take on
Yeah,
foreign affairs.
right.
Like that is a just such a bad example. Yes, we give them money.
Uh-huh.
We give, for better or worse, the United States is the leader of the world in a lot of uh in a lot of circles.
Right.
The world looks to us for leadership.
Right.
And
And
here we have a person that says diseases aren't real. So I'm just
right.
going to ignore them.
Right. Yeah, that's a
And
waste of money. Like how
it's
I
inciting
can't get
pandemic.
the mindset of these people. And I think that's good. It's good that I can't get their mindset. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
that
insanity.
that is one of the most problematic ones because
hmm
I think I read somewhere that who- the World Health Organization will essentially go out of business without American dollars.
Right. Yeah, and that's probably the goal.
Yeah, and then I mean
Um,
I don't know if there's because I mean I think there's been talks for a long time to replace the World Health Organization with a different like a more American central World Health Organization.
hmm.
Um, Basically, a lot of Republican presidents, as I understand it, just don't like working with other countries.
Right, but see, you cut out other countries, you cut out other scientists, you cut out other
Yeah,
discoveries,
half of
and it's
American innovations have been by immigrant scientists from other
right,
countries.
exactly, and we're doing terrible things to the education system in this country to the point that we're raising morons. Like, I'm not going to get into that right now. That's a whole other topic too, but like we're not we're not raising up brilliant scientists. We need to cooperate with other countries. We have the money, but they have the minds. So it's just it's bad. So, okay, I know the one I accidentally skipped. Put a freeze on refugee admissions. The order, Trump signed an order suspending the country's refugee resettlement program starting on January 27th. Refugees may be only be, that's got to be a typo.
Yeah, may only be.
Okay, refugees may only be admitted on a case-by-case basis, so long as their entry is in the national interest. What it means, advocates say the move put lives in danger and has left families devastated. Thousands of refugees now stranded around the globe.
It adds bureaucratic red tape.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
hmm
Initiating a case by case basis just gums up
It
the
slows it down.
whole refugee process. The
Yeah.
whole that's not amnesty, is it? That's something else. Um, but yeah, puts thousands of lives in danger. It does. And I mean,
Right. Right. Because refugees refugees have nowhere to go by definition. Okay, and this one's stupid. This is another dumb one that's just gonna get people mad at the air. Renaming the Gulf of Mexico. The
yay.
order. Trump ordered two name changes, the Gulf of Mexico and Alaska's Mount Denali. What it means, Trump ordered the Gulf of Mexico to be renamed the Gulf of America and will rechristen Alaska's Mount Denali as Mount McKinley. It will have no bearing on what names are used internationally. Like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Like he can't decide what everyone else calls these things.
No, and that's
But
fine. Like, I really don't care about it
Mhm.
because, I mean, other countries have their own names for their own country that we don't use. Japan is Nippon.
Right.
Germany is what?
Right, right.
Deutschland. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
So
you
like
know,
it's a non-issue.
other
W-
whatever names, who cares? It's such a non-issue. I don't know why a president is signing,
Right. Well,
a
it's
bill.
just it's a made up
Ego
issue
stroke.
that he can say I fixed that issue that didn't
Yeah,
exist
it's
when
a
I
campaign rally chant essentially.
yeah.
USA. Yeah, they were chanting USA in the Hall of the People at the inauguration. It's just so distasteful. Like I get it, but
Uh-huh.
like we're in the middle of like multiple crises at any one time, and to hear a chant of USA, USA is one of the biggest
Right.
dingbats in the history of dingbats is elected to office.
Yeah. It's like, oh Lord. I'm
Because
gonna go
I
to
I equate the chanting of USA with like red hat wearing, truck driving, beer drinking tomfoolery.
Uh-huh.
Like I just associate it with, you know, not an intellectual crowd,
Right.
but that's
Right.
just me.
It's well, yeah, it's not. I mean, I'm not saying that, I don't, that's a sticky subject there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nationalism versus what's the other one? Like national pride versus
Hmm.
uh white nationalism. I guess that's
Right.
my issue is that the USA chant has been stolen by white nationalists.
Yes. Well, because that's rampant nationalism, like blind allegiance to the flag. That's fascist. That's fascism.
Yeah,
And it tastes bad. It's kind of like how I could know a whole bunch of really genuine Christians, right? But the way that the right wing has taken and like
stolen
annexed
the gospel.
Christianity. Yeah, it's like you associate if someone tells me they're a Christian when I meet them, I'm immediately wary of them. Like I immediately have that, oh, you're gonna judge me and like you hate people. You're a hateful person when probably they're not.
Right.
Um,
Divide and conquer.
right. Okay, so next one, reclassifying federal employees.
Skipped one.
I skipped another one. Let's go. Okay. Revoking electric vehicle targets. That's the one we're on. The order. Trump revoked a non-binding executive order signed by Joe Biden aimed at making half of all new vehicles sold in 2030 electric. What it means, part of an effort to repeal Biden's environmental protections, Trump has also promised to roll back auto pollution standards finalized by Biden's administration last spring. Now, why would you do that? It's just petty. It's just, I'm going to undo what he did.
And it was non-binding to begin with.
Right. It was really kind of more of a recommendation. Like, let's
Yeah.
work on this.
Because it
This is
doesn't
a
have to be
goal.
electric. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
electric because I don't think electric is sustainable
Mhm.
as a vehicle transport from that standpoint. I don't
Mhm.
think it's sustainable. One of the problems with batteries is that they require tons of rare minerals to
Mhm.
manufacture. So, I mean, that is one of the biggest issues with renewable energy, or not
Mhm.
issues, but like challenges that
Right.
renewable energy advocation is presented with, which is batteries by nature, the way we make them now
Uh-huh.
are not made from sustainable resources. So how are we to pursue sustainable resources, which are when our primary mode for storing energy is not environmentally sustainable? We have a
Right.
limited amount of lithium on this planet, and it is
Mhm.
going very fast as it is. Lithium will
Right.
become the next oil very soon, the more we pursue our electronic endeavors. And if we
Mhm.
turn all internal combustion half of all combustion cars on the road into driving lithium batteries,
Mhm.
we will be faced with another huge issue, which is where's the nearest lithium mine, and we have to invade that country to get it.
Right.
And so, again, though, it's not a binding thing. The
Mhm.
spirit of that executive order was we know greenhouse gases are caused by cars,
Mhm.
and we need to move away from it one way or another.
Right. It's like the lithium problem, we'll start working on that one next. But
Yeah, yeah.
right now, we're polluting the planet.
What we need is
We
public transportation.
right,
What we need is
right.
public transportation and walkable communities.
Hmm.
We need an emphasis on that. So maybe urban development guy
Yeah,
can get
and
on top of that.
let us work from home
Yeah, let us work
too.
from home
That would cut down emissions a lot because it would
a
cut down
lot.
on driving.
Oh man, I can't tell you how much I save on
Hmm. Right,
on
because you
driving.
work from home.
I've worked from home since the start of the pandemic. And I was the only in-house CAD technician at the time anyway. All of our other CAD techs were remote already.
Hmm. Oh, I didn't know that.
I was the only one. And now that don't get me wrong, being in-house does help from time to time. A lot of people I know are like half in office, half work from home. You know, two of my good friends, one being my brother, he goes into the office. He's on a 2 and 3. 3 days he has to go into the office, 2 days he doesn't have to, barring extenuating circumstances like all day meetings and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I mean, I save so much on gas and car wear and tear. I mean, there was a period of time where I think I was putting maybe 3,000 miles a year on my car,
Uh-huh.
and like that's astonishingly little. And now I have 3 cars, a split bet that 3,000 miles up between the
Right.
3 cars. And so,
Hmm.
it saves a ton and it saves the environment on top of that. Hell, I mean, if I were even more privy, I live right down the street from a grocery store. I could carry a cart down to the grocery store and not even have to drive to go do that.
Hmm.
But so yeah, revoking electric vehicle targets, it's just such a bad look
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the rest of the world's standpoint.
hmm.
It was a non-binding thing to begin with, and now it's not a thing.
Right, right. All right. So next one, reclassifying federal employees, making them easier to fire. And this one is right out of Project 2025.
Yeah.
A lot of things he's doing are, but that's something I didn't take the time to examine like I want to before we did this. So the order, Trump's executive order reclassified thousands of federal employees as political hires, making it much easier for them to be fired. And I'm not sure if this is legal. Like, I need to look into this one. Oh, but anyway, what it means. Trump, in effect, reinstates Schedule F, an executive order he signed in the last year of his first term, seeking to reclassify tens of thousands of federal workers. Biden rescinded the order. Key aides to Trump have called for mass government firings. Project 2025 made attacks on the deep or administrative state at a core part of Trump's second term. The right-wing playbook called for civil servants deemed politically unreliable to be fired and replaced by conservatives.
Basically,
So
if they
this
aren't yes
one,
men, get rid of them.
right. And this is a danger to checks and balances. This is a danger to, like anyone, you just being able to fire anybody who could get in your way.
Oh, and it's a logistical
There
nightmare
are
too.
reasons, well, right, right.
Because what it's essentially doing is all of those picks we've previously discussed, these
Hmm.
tens of thousands of employees are now considered as picks. As in, they are political yes men. They are hired on. They are brought on with the administration. Politically unreliable is what that's getting at. Is
Hmm.
as in, all of these thousands of employees are now Republican employees. And so
Right.
if this goes through and it's reclassified that way, the next administration that comes in essentially has to go through a review process for every employee still there
Hmm.
to determine whether or not they are just political yes men or if they are actually fit for the job they are hired to do.
Hmm.
Like, are, you know, it's creating a biased administration at its core level. It's
Right.
further
Exactly.
politicizing every aspect of American government,
Hmm.
which is insanely problematic. Because imagine,
Yeah.
like, scale it down to your standard, mom and pop company. My company has about 60 employees. I am
Hmm.
one of those 60 people. Imagine that when I got hired on, now scale it up. I get hired on, aka I get elected, I now have to bring in people with me to run my entire goddamn government, to run my entire goddamn business. Scaled the
Hmm.
60, the 60 people up to 60,000. I am one person. I have to bring in 10,000 people to now run my
Uh-huh.
government.
Right.
And so it creates this awful administrative precedent to where when you get elected, you have to have a workforce behind you
Hmm.
coming in. Or, as a rational person would do, rescind the order, and now you have to review every single position again. Because
Right.
all of the people that were hired based on quote unquote merit now have been removed and hired because they are good Christian family oriented white folk. And
Hmm.
you have to make sure that, maybe they were hired because they're actually able to do the job.
Right.
But
Right. You have to really examine that.
insanely problematic.
Right.
And like you said, potentially impotent.
Hmm.
We don't, I'll have to research that and see if they can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, exactly. I think during the last time Trump was the president, there was a podcast, I think it was called Can He Do That? And that's all they did was because he was, every day crap would happen. And so they would do that research and just say, can he do that? Let's find out. So I wonder if they're coming back. I wonder if they've already come back. So next one, we got, I think,
Alaska.
seven left. Declaring a national energy emergency and unleash oil production in Alaska. The order, Trump declared a national energy emergency as part of a barrage of pro-fossil fuel actions and efforts to unleash already booming U.S. energy production that included also rolling back restrictions in drilling in Alaska and undoing a pause on gas exports. What it means, the declaration would allow his administration to fast-track permits for new fossil fuel infrastructure. It is likely that the order, part of a broader effort to roll back climate policy, will face legal challenges.
Yeah. Not much to
So,
say there.
no, it's kind of like we've already said.
Yeah.
This kind of rolls into the same thing that we already were talking about with
With
some
the
others. Like,
EVs.
yeah, he's hell bent on fossil fuels, promoting fossil fuels, and not giving a crap about the environment or protected lands or any such thing.
Yeah, we're gonna do it like
Um,
Daddy did it.
right. Go back to the 50s.
Yeah.
Next one, creating a policy recognizing only two genders. And this one is stupid.
It's so dumb.
Trump signed an order to remove gender ideology guidance from federal government communication policies and forms. The order makes it official policy that there are only two genders, male and female. What it means, the order reverses a Biden-era executive action on the acceptance of gender identity.
So,
Pointless. Fight
yep.
the boogeyman.
Yep.
2% of the population exist. How terrifying. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, what
what the
more can you
hell?
say? It's just a blatant attack against a
Right.
minority.
Right. It is blatant discrimination. It's fear mongering, and it hurts vulnerable people. That's all he's accomplished.
And in a
Um,
merit-based society, it hurts the society.
right. Especially when the merit that you have to have is being cisgender,
Yeah.
according to, them. So yeah, we've already said enough about that one, I think, but it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Pausing the TikTok ban. This one's actually kind of I think got some interesting nuance.
Yeah, it
So
does.
the order, Trump signed an executive order temporarily delaying the enforcement of a federal ban on TikTok for at least 75 days. What it means, Trump ordered his attorney general to not enforce the law requiring TikTok's sale. Trump says the pause allows for time to chart an appropriate course forward, to protect national security and not abruptly shut down the popular app. In his first term, Trump favored a TikTok ban, but has since changed his position due to factors including his own popularity on the app. So it's not about national security to him. It's that, oh, TikTok loves me. Let's
Yeah.
not get rid of that.
And the banning of
Um,
TikTok is nuanced, as you said, to begin with,
right,
because the whole
right.
reason why it's being banned seems to be less about national security and more about it's not an American company.
But I mean, it's and again nuance because yeah, because China, we don't want them selling their electric cars here. Let's not compete with them. Let's just block them out with tariffs. It's a but China has got TikTok, and the problem, it's a potential security threat. It
Yeah.
hasn't been proven to be one, but it's because the national security laws in China require social media to divulge all information to the government if requested. So they could get all of our information, just all of it from
Yeah, to
TikTok,
me,
whatever's on there. And I'm like, well, just don't put shit on TikTok.
yeah, to me
Like,
that,
I mean,
that says more about the average American consumer just being an idiot.
right,
And,
exactly. Like,
you
we
know,
need to educate the consumers.
yeah, clicking accept to all terms of uses whenever you download a new app.
Uh-huh.
And, you
Right,
have
which
to,
we all do.
we all do. Yeah, there was a great South Park episode on that.
Yes, yes, there
Um,
was.
yeah, where human
Okay, like
centipede.
human centipede.
Yeah,
We all
good
agreed
stuff.
to that.
And so, I mean, pausing the TikTok ban, it's just funny that he flip-flops because of his own
Right.
popularity. And
Yeah.
you know, I don't I don't care
Hmm.
about TikTok. Um,
Right.
the large cry for it to not be banned, has more to do with our own boredom, it would seem.
Right.
I know there are content creators and small businesses that thrive off of
Yes.
TikTok exposure, and they
Right.
essentially lose their entire platform,
And there are
and
other platforms they could migrate to, but they
it's
would
not
have to
that
rebuild
easy.
from scratch. Like
Yeah.
people would have to find them or know where to find them and all
and
that.
and
Like
want to find them.
exactly, and want to go through the effort because a lot of
Yeah.
times, like
I
a lot
don't
of people I follow on YouTube and
I don't follow them on
Twitter.
Instagram.
Right, because I'm
You
not
know,
looking for them. Like they just came across and I was interested enough a few times that I'm just like, all right, I'll follow you. You're interesting enough.
yep.
But I'm
But
not
it
necessarily
doesn't
going to seek
translate.
them out. Yeah.
And they get so lost in the lines. I don't know what the average is, but I know I follow about 2,000 accounts on
Hmm.
Instagram, and that's been
Wow.
cultivated over the 12 years that I've used the app. And
Yeah.
the algorithm already hides the majority of them from me.
Hmm.
I'm probably not going to, if they ever banned Instagram for whatever reason, I'm probably not going to be like, oh, let me go look for that one obscure guy I followed on Instagram all those years ago.
Right.
And so, yeah, it is alarming for those people. And what I would say to those people is maybe focus more of your efforts on cross-platform
Yeah.
visibility,
Yeah.
because these apps do come and go. We've already seen it
Hmm.
happen
Hmm.
several times. It
Right.
happened. It happened with
Some of them
Vine.
die.
It happened
Right.
with
And that was
that was huge.
MySpace was maybe one of the
MySpace.
early fight fatalities.
Yeah, and I don't get MySpace. I've been meaning to do a little more research on that because
Hmm.
Tom, whatever his name was, sold MySpace to some company for $580 million.
Right.
And I'm just like, so what happened to MySpace? Like,
That
like,
company turned
like,
it into like a thing
why
for
did they?
musicians or
Oh, is that what they did?
yeah, it was like mostly for promoting bands. Like they just changed kind of like Elon Musk, but more definitively. As far as I remember. That was a long time ago. But I mean as far as TikTok though, it's like there's nuance that I think, it is a potential national security threat. That's not untrue. It also isn't actively a national security threat. So yeah, I don't know.
Dude,
I
I mean,
don't know.
all
It's
social
like,
media is a national security threat,
no,
as
well,
Trump
what if they're,
demonstrated.
yeah, right. If he's on it, it's a national security threat. Imagine we're at war. He's like, our troops are heading in this direction, doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a moron. He is a national security threat, in my opinion. Um, all right.
Yeah. Rescinding 78 Biden era executive actions. Trump ordered 78 Biden era executive actions to be rescinded, including at least a dozen measures supporting racial equality and combating discrimination against gay and transgender people. What it means, the order signals a reversal of Biden era policy that prioritized implementing diversity measures across the federal government. Trump repealed orders signed by Biden advancing racial equity for underserved communities, not undeserved, underserved,
Undeserved. Oh, it does
un,
look like undeserved. Yeah.
yeah,
Underserved.
underserved communities, and the aforementioned order combating discrimination based on gender identity or sexual orientation. So great, more hate.
Yeah, more hate. That's all it is. It is solid bigotry. And then they're like, oh, why does everyone always call me a racist? I'm not homophobic. I have no problem with gay people personally. They'll say shit like that.
Yeah,
And
and then
then
it's
do
it's
shit like
even
this.
this might even be pertinent to the conversation what Trump said, the part we've been
Mm,
skipping on all this. He says, I'll
right.
revoke nearly 80 destructive and radical executive actions, told a crowd in Washington after his speech. He said he would end policy, quote, trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life and push for a, quote, colorblind and merit-based society.
Colorblind and merit-based society. I think he said that in his inaugural address, didn't he?
I think
Or
so.
he said it
Yeah,
somewhere because
no,
I think I made
no,
a
I'm pretty
note
sure he did. Yeah,
because I'm like, okay, that's just colorblind as we're ignoring the
that
fact
are
that racial
differences.
discrimination happens.
Yeah,
We're merit based. We've talked about this all night.
it's blinders.
Yeah, it's
And being blind is never a good
just
thing.
we don't want to have to be fair. We don't want to include the people who aren't like us.
Yeah, I should say being metaphorically blind,
Right.
uh, is never a good
Because
thing.
yeah, no, like in racial conversations,
In
being
all
colorblind
conversation,
is
yeah,
not a virtue.
no, it is
Like,
not. It is a signal for ignorance.
mhm.
And yeah, brutal. You want to take the next one? I didn't mean to steal your
Oh
reading
no,
rights.
I was kind of glad because
Okay,
my
yeah.
throat's getting kind
Declaring a national
of go
border
for it.
emergency. So Trump signed an order at the White House declaring an emergency at the southern U.S. border, along with several other immigration-related policies. What it means, the executive action paves the way to send U.S. troops to the southern border and makes good on campaign promises to implement hardline immigration policies. There are limited details about how the administration plans to execute its sprawling set of immigration actions that were all but certain to face legal and logistical challenges. Immigrant communities across the country are bracing for Trump's promise to carry out the quote largest deportation program in American history, beginning as early as Tuesday morning. I don't know when this article was written, probably over the
Right.
weekend. Because yeah, it already has begun rolling out. There
Right.
are
It has.
ICE watch lines or
Hmm.
watchdogs
Hmm.
groups all over Facebook
Yeah, and there have
and
been
Twitter.
schools that have refused to let them in, even though the law has said you have to,
Yeah, and
you
what's
know,
wild is if they're all undereducated and freeloaders, why is ICE showing up to schools and
and
workplaces?
work. Yeah, exactly. Why are you busting work? I thought these people were sponges, leeches. Like, no,
Yep,
I didn't think that. I'm just saying. That's what you said. That's what I was told.
yep. And so it's national border emergency, bold take to call it an emergency.
It's horse crap. Yeah, it's
Uh,
not an emergency. It's not a
we've
national emergency.
like we already pointed out, it it's always going to need reform. Immigration is
Right.
always going to be an issue in any developed
Uh-huh.
country. You know, who you let in, how many
Hmm.
you let in, uh, how you deal with people who weren't let in, um,
Right.
and calling them criminals is a stretch.
Hmm.
Criminals are criminals. Illegal immigrants are just that.
Right. And
They
some of
are
them
ill.
are here.
illegally.
Oh,
Like,
and most illegal immigrants are not from Mexico. Most of them are people like from Canada or Europe who came in and just didn't leave.
yeah, they come through Mexico. Does not mean that they're all like
Mhm.
everybody that comes
Like
in
there are, yeah,
through Mexico is not necessarily Mexican.
right. That's true.
And
That's true.
the
But some of them,
I
they
think
come in legally, but then their stuff expires and they just stay.
like if you get a
But,
speeding ticket, are you a criminal? Most people would say no. You have
right.
committed an illegal act.
Hmm.
And so, because I'm all for getting rid of criminals. Criminals are bad. Gang violence and all that, that's bad.
Mm.
Get rid of that. That's good stuff. But actively painting every illegal as a like gang banging murderer
Right. It's not
is
the case.
dangerous
The
rhetoric.
people who are here illegally
Yeah.
are not necessarily bad. Like,
Yeah,
and
and
most of them are not. I mean, meet people, talk to people. I don't know. I haven't met a single murdering, rapist, thief of all the people I've ever talked to who were here illegally.
yeah, I mean
They've all been lovely people.
I've known a few,
Hmm.
like I've known of a few that were involved in less than decent acts that are back in Mexico now. Um,
Oh, yeah, I remember you told me.
and you know, they're doing great over there. You know what they
Uh-huh.
did? They went over there, they got a job, and they got access to counseling and got out of their ways
That's
um,
great.
because they have access to better medical care than
Right. Then here we
uh,
just let our crazy people go crazier. I'm one
like
of
we
them.
said
I
earlier,
priced out of counseling and now I'm insane.
underserved communities is a large problem.
Yeah,
It's right there in the name. They're underserved.
underserved.
And that is debatably on purpose in a lot
Hmm.
of scenarios. See gerrymandering
Hmm.
and but yeah, so bold move calling it an emergency. I'm fine with reviewing all like how we deal with things, but it's just so blatantly racist,
Yeah.
the approach
Uh-huh.
that
Exactly.
it has to be condemned.
Yeah, because again, it's just
Whatever happened to the wall that Mexico is going to
cr-
pay for?
right.
He's
Horse
going
crap.
he's going so hardline on this border emergency so people will forget the fact that he promised a wall that he never delivered on.
Hmm.
Promised a wall, spent our money, exercised in eminent domain or
Uh-huh.
innate domain, is that what it's called? I don't remember the exact, but basically the government is able to seize lands when it wants for the price it wants to pay for those lands.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we spent billions of tax dollars
Yeah.
building a chain
People
link
lost their
fence.
land.
People lost their land and all for naught. Because
He doesn't
spoiler
care.
alert, or rather for those who don't know, the Texas-Mexico border is a geographic border.
Uh-huh.
It is a
Yeah.
river. It is not easy to cross for the majority of our border.
Hmm.
You're looking at 100-foot cliffs and rushing water. Those who do cross it often take their lives into their hands
Oh
doing so.
yeah.
Um,
It's not an easy journey.
most people come illegally through planes. I don't know where they come from. I don't have those stats, but the most common method for illegally entering the United States is on a damn charter flight. It's not, the people you see climbing over fences on,
Right.
fear-mongering posts.
Hmm.
Um, And the responsibility of Border Patrol is to care for those people that have trekked potentially thousands of miles without access to food, water, and shelter. It is
Hmm.
not to run around on ATVs and shoot them.
Right. Right. I mean, those guys, they have blankets in their cars and
Yes,
such.
blankets, bottled water, and Oreos.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oreos. Mm.
and so yeah, moving on. Issuing pardons for January 6 defendants.
Oh, this was a good one.
Yeah, Trump issued pardons for offenders and communications related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Attack on the Capitol. Trump issues pardons for attack on Capitol. He will direct the Department of Justice to dismiss cases currently in progress. Trump made his pledge to issue pardons for those with convictions related to the January 6th Capitol attack, a core part of his reelection campaign. On the campaign trail, Trump often featured the national anthem sung by prisoners in a Washington, D.C. jail. There are more than 1,500 people federally charged with associated charges. With Trump back in the White House, Justice Department investigations into January 6th crimes are expected to cease.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
we have literal domestic terrorists that
Yeah, and
stormed
he lets
our
him back out on the
Capitol,
street.
that he incited to storm the Capitol.
Yes. Yeah, he's the kingpin
This
here.
is
And
one of his felony charges. Like he was,
right.
wasn't he convicted? Or did it, I think they dropped this one.
No, they didn't convict him like, but there were other people. These people going to court, I think, led to basically it being a matter of public record that he incited an insurrection. Like that was not in question as far it's I don't know exactly which case or cases. I don't think he was directly brought up on charges for this yet. But, bringing these people up on charges was building a case against him. And I
Yeah,
could be wrong
and
about that. There's been so many things, like so many charges he was
yeah,
brought
with
up on. But
1,500. Yeah,
yeah, but like these people,
1,500
like,
people.
and like he's telling us to be scared of like, Mexico's sending their rapists and their thieves and their murderers. Like, he's letting insurrectionists, crazy people, like that
Two
crazy
people
the
died.
shaman dude, like was like, I'm gonna go buy some guns, and a whole lot of these people are already back in prison because they
Yeah,
immediately did crimes when they got let loose back on the street. And then I saw him. I don't remember what it was on, but he was talking about the something else. He was talking about, the crisis at the border. And he was like, in this, they're emptying their prisons. I think he even said Canada was Mexico, Canada. They're emptying their prisons into our country. Can you imagine that? Can you just think about that? They're emptying their prisons, all of their criminals into our country. And it's like, you literally just did that. You
yeah,
literally just emptied the prisons
of
into our
criminals.
country.
Yeah.
Violent, crazy criminals.
Yeah, how do you think the families of the people who died, I think one security guard and then
Hmm.
I don't remember, there was one other fatality during the insurrection. I think it was
Yeah.
one of the insurrectionists.
Hmm.
So, shoo
Oh.
away. So sad you died during an insurrection.
Oh,
But
yeah. Yeah. Get over it. These
yeah,
are national heroes. Go to hell.
I believe they call that FAFO. Fuck around
Yeah.
and find out.
Yeah. So like I saw like part of one of the I can't confirmation hearings for one of his cabinet. I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of the guys who what are they putting in charge of security or something? I don't know, but it was like one of the senators was telling him to, I think it was Chuck Schumer, was telling him to look at the police officers who are here protecting him. Look them in the eye right now. And, because he was saying that the January 6th rioters were mistreated and abused, all that crap. Like, and, he even had there was like a song, a national anthem just for them about that he was all about, but he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't look the police in the eyes, you know, like he, these people are unreal.
Yeah. So, yay.
Because they beat police officers, and the Republicans are supposed to be all pro
Pro police,
police and all that, and
back the blue.
yeah, they don't.
And but yeah, so that's one of the more problematic ones. And here for the last one is one of the most problematic ones.
Right.
Again, withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement, Trump issued an executive action withdrawing the U.S. from the 2015 Paris Agreement, along with a letter informing the United Nations of the decision. What it means. In 2017, Trump exited the Paris Agreement. Upon taking office in 2021, Biden rejoined. Monday's
Hmm.
order makes good on a Trump election promise to withdraw from the 2015 global treaty seeking to avoid the worst impacts of the climate crisis. Exiting the Paris Agreement is part of Trump's broader efforts to roll back climate protections and policy. Trump has described Biden's efforts to grow the U.S.'s clean energy sector as the Green New Scam.
Oh, Jesus. Oh,
And so, I mean, this lays the foundation for, I mean, I think Trump has even threatened before, fact check me here, to withdraw from the UN.
no, constantly.
Yeah,
Constantly.
because apparently we pay for everything over there,
Which is all horse
and
crap.
and
Like
that's
he
a
again, it's just like tariffs. He doesn't understand how the UN works. They all agree to put a certain amount of their budget to
mhm,
defense and stuff. It's not like people aren't paying into the UN their fair share. He's an idiot, and they all look at him like he's an idiot because he's an idiot. It's embarrassing when he goes out and meets with other world leaders.
yeah,
But see, this flip-flop crap, it's like, okay, Trump pulls us out, Biden gets us back in and has to be very apologetic, all of this crap. And then, oh, we vote Trump back in for some reason and he pulls us out. Like, this is the kind of crap where we lose face long term on the global stage. Where why would anyone trust America to keep their promises? Because in 4 years, we could put another fascist in power.
yeah,
Like that's why I sincerely felt like I understand the political ramifications for the Democrats, but I really feel like they should have pushed for this guy to go to prison in the last 4 years when he could be prosecuted, like to show, like the judge who just sentenced him, you
yeah,
know, to
said it.
nothing.
Yeah, he
Sentence,
said,
you've been sentenced to
be the
shame on
president.
you. You are now officially a criminal. Now go be the president. No, I think if we want to show the world that we have integrity, we need to put this motherfucker in jail.
Yeah,
Like, we need to throw him in jail and throw away the key. All his crimes, he needs to be held accountable. We need to show the world that we are, in fact, a nation of laws, like that no one is above those laws just because they're rich or famous or the president of the
or the
United
police.
States. I think this is the very reason, stuff like this. How can anyone make plans with us
Yeah,
when every 4 years we're going to have a different personality? Every 4 years we could go from democracy to oligarchy, republic to fascist regime. Who knows with America? America is the bipolar police force of the world.
yeah. We have the biggest guns and the most crazy lunatic to wield them.
Right, right. And we're either going to be all about we need to save the planet and the environment, or we're going to be like we need to destroy the planet for money.
Yeah,
And
not thinking beyond your own lifetime is sort of a trademark of the uh
yes,
the baby boomer generation. I mean
maybe. Oh,
I mean baby boomers created like with the economic booms and all of that. And granted, research hadn't come out yet. I mean, smoking used to be healthy, and
right,
we
right. It's
learn and we
good for
learn and we
you.
learn and we learn,
Hmm.
and but for a long time, it's been the stance of the people in power, which is an aging Senate and
Hmm.
American government core
Right.
that just why fix it now when we're good?
Right.
Like
It's, and like I
I won't
hate
see
to.
it. I won't see I won't see us run out of oil. I'm not going to be alive for that. What do I care?
Hmm.
Um,
Right. And
not building a future for your children.
hmm hmm And I mean, we're talking in generalities now because I mean, there are a lot of baby boomers. There are baby boomers who listen to this podcast
Right,
regularly who don't think that way. But
right,
I can't deny that, everyone who I've had confrontations with on that very issue has been a baby boomer. Anyone
right,
who's said, I don't care if I get $5 today and my grandson has no planet to live on, I get $5 today. And
right.
that's what's important. It doesn't matter to me what happens when I'm gone. They've all been baby boomers. So I don't know, like intergenerational dynamics are fascinating to me. But yeah, I can't, there are too many really good baby boomers
Yeah.
to
I'm sorry
not
for the
come back
blanket
and say,
statement.
no, I know. I'm just saying I can't just let that. I agree with what you're
Yeah.
saying. I see what you're saying. I want to call out the baby boomers who are like not all baby boomers.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's a generalization for a reason. There's
yeah, no.
something
And the fact at the core of that
something
generation
there.
is that the most damaging generation to the world that we have ever seen was
Right.
the baby boomer
Yes.
generation.
Yes.
And because that's where economic boom was fueled by lining the pockets of the rich and the planet be damned.
Right.
And because I'm not sure how often climate change has been brought up during the
hmm
economic boom in the post-World War II era. But I'm sure there
Right.
were some people that were like, smoking bad, don't do that. Cars, turns out if you breathe in the fumes, it hurts you. Um,
Right.
and I'm sure there were alarmists back then that were brushed off. I mean, we've been brushing them off for decades now as it is. And now
Yeah.
we've reached a
Yeah.
tipping point where, the oceans will be empty by 2050
hmm
at this rate. And California's sinking and sea levels are rising, the caps are melting, and Republicans seem to just have their fingers in the ears saying la 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 la.
Yeah, I don't want to hear
And
it. I've run
and
into that a lot with older people
yeah,
where I'm
and
telling them, no, actually, I don't want to hear that.
yeah.
Well, that's
Then
useless.
then why are you voting?
Right. Like if you don't want to hear what's really going on, you want to hear a fan. And when I was a Lyft driver, I had a lot of people, back during the first Trump administration, and not just baby boomers. I'm just talking people who were Trump supporters, and they would tell me why they watched Fox News. And they were like, because Fox News tells me what I want to hear. Like it makes me feel better to listen to Fox News. They don't want to hear what's really going on. They
An
want to
affirmation of
pretend,
beliefs.
yeah, they want to pretend that what Fox News is telling them is what's really going on.
Yeah, so those
And
are all the
they want to
executive
hear
orders.
don't be woke, don't be aware. They're like, okay,
Yep,
that's a
I will go
lot
back to
easier.
sleep. Yeah, that
Exactly.
is,
I'm just gonna roll over,
and
let it
listen to what
ride.
Daddy Trump and Musk says,
Right.
and Bezos, and I'll take my scraps happily, and
Right.
just,
Right.
just remain ignorant. I mean, ignorance
Yeah.
is bliss, There,
Right.
there is a reason
Until
why that phrase exists, is because it is
right.
a much simpler life if you just keep your head down and
hmm
uh, repeatedly say it is what it is. And
Right. I've heard that. I can't do it. I can't keep my head down.
I have to, not to go way off topic, but like I mentioned earlier, this fear campaign and executive order spree, it's
hmm
mentally
Oh
exhausting.
yeah, I see what you're
It's
saying.
empathetically like exhausting. Like I only have so much I can care about at one time without completely shutting down. And
hmm
there are lots of people like that to where
Right. I
like
think
they're just
all
like
of us are to a degree.
to a degree. And and the problem is that it gets down so deep that people start turning on each other. They're just like, look, ban the gays. I just want cheaper groceries.
hmm
Like I can only care
Right. They'll
so
be
much.
convinced that the equality policies are the problem. Well, yeah, maybe if we hadn't focused so much on that, blah blah blah. Like,
Yeah,
but it's not true. Like,
no, it's not, but it wears you down.
right.
It wears just past. Let's deal with the damn gay issue so we can get to the damn inflation issue. Is what
Hmm.
some people might be feeling. They're like, I mean,
Right.
because a lot of the stance that I've seen from opponents to equality
Hmm.
is they're just tired of hearing about it. They're just
Right.
tired of. I'm like, well, too bad.
Right. Because equality is important. But
Yeah, just too damn bad. They're here. Now
hmm.
stop listening to the to the erasure attempts. Like
Right.
that's what you should be ignoring
Hmm.
is you should be tired of hearing a opposition to the fact that gays and trans
People
exist.
exist. Yeah, because that's the senseless side of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like there shouldn't be an argument. Yeah, LGBT community has always existed,
Yeah.
always will. Get over like the people bitching about it. Yeah, you're right. That's who we should be ignoring.
Yeah,
We should
they
just
won't they're
not
the ones
listen
who
to
won't shut
them.
up about it.
Yeah, exactly. They're the ones making it an issue
Yeah.
when it just shouldn't be.
But so yeah, that's all of the
That's the
executive orders
executive
that have been
orders.
done so far. All
Yeah.
I mean all of them as of
Mm,
2 days ago.
yeah.
Because I didn't count how many were here, but he signed a total of 37 orders. I don't think
Okay.
that was 37 that we read off.
Right. I know he did one today that was the woke crashed the planes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
uh
So now we've been at it for three
a
hours
while.
now,
Right?
3.5 hours, and we have two more blocks to get to.
Right. But I have very few notes on these, and we've
So
talked
do
about a
I.
lot of
We
them
have.
already, like foreign policy. Like we've really talked a lot about that, like the deportations. He
Yeah,
wants to get
well,
out of the Green New Deal. I feel like we've covered that in his executive orders
Paris
extensively.
Climate
Yeah,
Agreement,
like
the World
um,
Health Organization,
the tariffs. We talked about the
TikTok.
tariffs, right? Yeah.
We didn't talk about the tariffs.
We didn't. Okay.
No,
I
we
talked
talked about it in our
so.
pre-episode.
Oh,
I
okay.
I
So
think so.
well, I
It's been
thought
so
we
long.
talked about it's been yeah, it's been a long conversation, but like
Uh,
yeah, because we were talking about tariffs don't work like that. How he wants to put tariffs on people and
yeah,
says it's
we
going to
did
bring
talk about
money into
that.
the country, but
They
just the
don't work that
Canada
way.
thing, there's something we haven't
Greenland.
talked about. Greenland, like that stuff is concerning. And just as the commander in chief of the military, like he can't declare war.
For one thing,
But he
Greenland is a
can,
wasteland.
right. But it's a strategic point.
It
Like that's
is.
something that doesn't really come up in the conversations I see in the media, is that America has had their eyes on Greenland since the early 1900s.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's okay. It's not a new idea with Trump like acquiring Greenland or in times when we might be invaded by someone, setting up strategically in Greenland. But, that we are a democracy. Like we should be past colonialism. We fought a war against colonialism even though we were the colonists. Like but the British, we became an actual government and kicked them out. No more colonies, no more, basically second class citizenship. But we don't need to go into other territories anymore than we already have historically and just take them over. Greenland is now a United States territory.
Yeah,
Why?
no,
Like,
no, he did say something in his inauguration that was alarming to that effect. He basically made us sound like conquerors.
no, he did.
He
And
said
that,
that we will conquer. Like he said, we will
mhm.
conquer territory. We will go forth
Well,
and
that's
conquer territory.
That's his vision, and he's all about manifest. Like he likes Andrew Jackson a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
read a
he
book.
likes right, but like he wants to do things like he thinks we should be expanding our territory. Um,
If he wants
but
to be like Andrew
Canada,
Jackson, he should compete in as many duels as Jackson did. See how he fares.
yeah, yeah, I'd like to, yeah, I don't want to go to jail or anything, but
Yeah,
I'd like to see Trump engage in a duel or two
I doubt he can
and just
count to
see
10.
what happens. I know. But he wouldn't do it. Like he'd back out and blame
Draft
the
dodging
wokes.
bastard.
The, yeah,
Yeah, the draft
yeah,
dodger looks up to Andrew Jackson.
yeah, right. Good Lord.
The
Andrew
irony.
Jackson would have shot Trump on sight.
Yeah.
Probably.
Or he would have
But
put a collar on him and walked him like a dog.
right,
He would have
right,
Andrew Jackson would have smelled his money and then yeah, collared him. And so
right. But like, I'm concerned though, because he does have the power to put our troops places. But
not a
he
lot of
can't
places in
declare
Greenland.
war. Right. But Canada? Why is he provoking and the trade wars that are going to start tomorrow as we record this? Because we're recording this, well, it was January 31st. Now, so today, February 1st, it was reiterated yesterday that yes, those tariffs are going to happen on February 1st. On China, on Canada, on Mexico, I think. Yeah, Mexico. It's getting so late, I don't remember what's going on in the world. But, and all those places are ready to retaliate. And I think it's interesting because I did not know this. Um, Apparently I slept through school that day, but that Canada controls the electricity up north in America. Like we get electricity from Canada because, some politician in Canada had pointed that out and said, well, if they do that, we can just cut off their electricity. So then
Yeah.
how are we going to retaliate to that with Trump in office, where this wouldn't even be happening if Trump weren't in office? There's no way we would get into a trade war with all of these people, especially Canada. But I will be interested to see what their retaliations are. I would be tempted to turn off the lights if I were Canada.
No, but
But
do you want to poke the bear with an assault rifle?
right, because he's going to send troops in to turn the electricity back on, like, or is he going to? Because Trump doesn't like to admit he never admits when he's wrong, and
No.
that's what scares me the most about this tariff shit. He's wrong. It's 100% going to hurt us. Um,
Yeah, literally every economist that I've seen speak on the matter is was like he doesn't know what he's doing.
no.
Nobody likes tariffs. I think back when he was campaigning on it, one of the senators was like, I think one of his supporting senators was like, I'm going to stop him from doing tariffs. If there's anything I have to say about it, tariffs are bad.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think it was freaking Mitch McConnell or something
Hmm.
that said something to that effect that like he's talking about tariffs. We're not going to do any tariffs.
Oh
And
yeah, I kind of
like
remember that.
he was very much like tariffs bad because tariffs are
Yeah,
bad.
tariffs are bad. They should be
And
used very sparingly.
not
Like,
against our
if at all.
allies.
Not against our allies, yeah. Our
Two
number
biggest
one
trade
trading
partners.
partner. Like,
Yeah,
come
Mexico and
on.
Canada are two biggest trading partners. Let's just stab them in the back. Well, more
Hmm.
like stab the American people in the back.
Right, because again, the trade deficit means we get more from Canada than Canada gets from us. We are going to be hurt worse in a trade war than Canada is.
Yeah,
Like, and I mean, look at all the things that you buy that say made in Mexico.
made in
Like
China.
made in China. Like it's everything.
Probably everything on my desk right now was made in China.
Right. Yeah. Same.
So I mean, not a lot of my furniture, IKEA.
Hmm.
Well, actually, no, a lot of IKEA stuff is made in China. Sorry,
Right.
correction. It's licensed by a Swedish company, but a lot of it is made in China.
Right.
Uh, so
So
yeah,
massive I don't know where this ends, basically. Like,
hopefully in 4 years.
but will he last 4 years is what I mean. Like, Or, because I long suspected JD Vance has an agenda in accepting the vice presidential nomination because he hates this guy. Like he was outspokenly anti-Trump.
Couch fucker.
But but he but he is he's a Christian nationalist. Like he's now next in line to be the president. There in the Constitution, there is a way for him to say, hey, Trump is nuts. He can't be the president. He can't carry out his duties. All he has to do is let Trump go. Watch this
Yeah.
crap unfold for a few months, and then he'll have support from everyone if this trade war goes on to oust Trump and use why do I want to say the 24th Amendment? I don't know. There's an amendment to the Constitution that gives him this power. And I've kind of thought that must be what he was planning. If I were him, I would be like, yeah, I'll be your vice president, horrible idiot who I hate, and I'll just let you run wild for a while, and then I will oust your ass and put you in a straitjacket, and I will be the president.
Oh yeah, no, you're talking about the
Yeah, which amendment?
25th.
25th. I was close. 24th, I
Yeah,
said. So,
which has to do with presidential disability and succession.
mhm.
Uh, so whenever the president transmits to the president pro tempore, I don't know how to say that, pro tempore,
Uh-huh.
of the Senate, the
Not
Speaker of the
sure.
House, written declaration, unable to discharge powers, duties of his office. Section 4, whenever the vice president and a majority of either principal officers of the executive departments or such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate, blah 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 blah. Uh, basically, the president can no longer do his duties due to
Hmm. Being
whatever
nuts.
disability.
He is nuts.
Uh,
Yeah.
the vice president may seize power or may be
Yeah.
granted power by Congress.
Right. It's like he has to go to some people and say,
Yeah.
here, here's the evidence. Dude's nuts. Can we get out of this trade war? Here's how we do it. I think all of Congress would be like, yeah, yeah, he's nuts. Let's get rid of him. Even the Republicans. Um, I feel like if the Republicans saw a way out of Trump, they would take it if it were that clear.
Well, because we constantly say Republicans, it's not even the Republican Party anymore.
Right.
It is the
It's
MAGA
been
Party.
hijacked.
It's the
Yeah.
GOP. I don't know, what does the GOP even stand for?
Oh, I like to call it greedy old pricks, but it actually stands for Grand Old Party.
Hmm.
The Grand Old Party. Greedy old pricks works better.
Yeah, I agree. Um, and now what are they gonna be, the GYP when JD takes over? Grand
The what?
Young Pricks or the
The Grand.
Couch Fuckers Party? Did you know that after I did a quick little Google on that after the assassination attempt on Trump, more Google searches for JD Vance couch than Trump assassination.
That's hilarious.
People were more interested in the fact that, this story had run wild about JD Vance fucking a latex glove between couch cushions.
Oh, is that? See, I never delved in deep enough to find out the details.
Yeah,
I
we've
didn't
all
know there
been
was a
there.
latex glove involved.
I mean,
You had a few drinks, the couch is looking at you funny.
pretty good.
Lights looking a certain way.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you got a
Never been
glove.
there. Glove. Now, see, now I have questions that I don't want to have in
Yeah.
my head about just how and what, how
Did he
I don't want
finish?
to. Did he
Um,
finish?
did the
Did he
couch
call the
consent?
couch the next day? Or, yeah, did the couch consent? Can a couch consent? He raped a couch.
Yeah, honestly,
Allegedly. Allegedly.
allegedly. Yeah.
But
Uh,
yeah, like that's what I'm saying. I don't know
international
how this.
response is going, I mean, it's already poor from what I've
Yeah.
seen. You know,
Yes.
people are the whole world is watching
Hmm.
as the Trumpster fire engulfs the country in flames.
Right.
And
R
they're watching as, foreign aid they rely upon is going to be slashed
yeah.
um,
Oh, oh.
in favor of deporting hardworking families
Hmm.
and starving the American people of economic liberty.
Right. Yeah.
And
Everything's going
so,
to be scarcer. Everything's going to be more expensive.
yeah, I
We're not
mean,
going to have any allies. Like, and what's his approval rating at right now? I meant
probably
to look that
high,
up because I'm pretty sure it's dismal.
historically low again, um, uh, sub 50%, according to
Mhm.
Gallup,
Okay.
47%.
Okay.
Similar to the inaugural 45% in his first term,
Hmm.
again placing him below all other elected presidents dating back to 1953.
Yeah,
Trump
I
remains
don't.
the only elected president with a sub 50% initial approval ratings, and his latest disapproval rating, 40%, is 3 percentage points higher than in 2017, marking a new high for inaugural ratings for disapproval. Uh,
How did this guy get reelected? I. That's the question I just
Well,
cannot
and I have yet
get
to
my
confirm
head
a lot of
around.
this, but apparently, the election is still going on. It's already been
Hmm.
determined and called, but apparently there's been a quiet investigation into a
Oh.
lot of voter suppression
Oh yeah, no, there
that
was a
took
lot.
place. The latest number that I saw, that I haven't fact checked yet, was like 3 million Kamala votes of various types were thrown out
Hmm.
due to voter suppression and yeah, I mean that's the only word I want to use.
Right. Well, and I'm thinking more of stuff that's it's objectively true, like, uh Texas doing purging the voting rolls, like coming up with any reason to decide somebody's registration is sus and just purge them and not tell them. And
Yeah, I
then,
mean,
you can't just register like in some other democracies. You can, on election day, you can walk in and register to vote and then vote.
yeah,
They've made sure we can't do that here. And so they did a lot of that kind of voter suppression where they, it's a matter of public record. It's not anywhere near conspiracy theory
right.
status. It happened. They definitely did some voter suppression stuff. They tried to make it harder to vote in a lot of red states. Because they know the more people who vote statistically, the less likely the Republicans are to win.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Um,
that's interesting. Just that, nobody likes this guy and he's the president again and doing terrible damage. And like the media, like one thing, like I don't think we have to talk for 20 minutes about the media,
no.
but one thing I think is important to say is that we can't really trust the media right now because the billionaires have bought so much of it. Like you can't trust the memes. I want everyone to research everything. You can't trust these two autodidacts who are not
No.
experts. We got a lot of stuff wrong tonight, I know for sure. Like I would even catch stuff in my head. I'm like, "Oh, I meant to say this word, but those words came out." You know,
Right.
fact check everyone. Don't take anything at face value. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Just trust no one, but at the same time, don't give up.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
that's what you have to,
critical thinking.
and like I've already touched on, it's hard, you know,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, we all have lives and jobs, and we're so tired.
Yeah.
And, like here we are on going on 4 hours doing a podcast,
Right.
and, I've been up since 8 o'clock this morning just working.
Uh,
And,
yeah.
not that I'm an insomniac by choice.
Right.
Um, and so not that I would be sleeping right now anyway, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, it's mentally exhausting. We're all
Yeah.
desperate for escapism, and it's hard with so many issues that could potentially affect everybody. It's hard to
Hmm.
keep up with all of them, and it's hard to know who to trust. And
Right.
so not only do you have to fact check what is said by our elected officials,
Hmm.
but then you have to check that your fact checking checkers are
Right.
checking facts good enough. And
Right. Yeah, don't check facts by meme. Don't be a
yeah,
meme scholar. Don't
and then you look
it's
to the journalists of the world that it's a dying art.
right because it's all about money, it's all about clicks, it's all about the billionaire who owns the legacy media company. I think independent journalists are where it's at in a lot of cases. And you can honestly, like you can tell to a large degree who's trying to be unbiased, like legitimately, because they won't paint one side as, all through rose-colored glasses, and the other side just as purely demonic. Like we pointed out, there were some things in Trump's executive orders that made sense. There were some
Yeah,
things that were that's not a threat,
no,
or that's not even wrong. Like, look for people like that who are willing to see the nuance, even if they have opinions, like listen to listen to the facts more than the opinions and form your own opinions around those facts. Watch these politicians give their speeches in context. Don't wait till it's broken up into sound bites. It may hurt, but sit there and watch like I did today, watching that inaugural address.
watch it on
It
two
was
times speed if you have
painful.
to.
Yeah. But now, I see clips on the news, I'll see memes, and I will know if they're taking something out of context that he said, or
Yeah,
if they're being alarmist, if they're making a mountain out of a molehill. I'll know because I watched it in context, uncut. I mean, that's my advice, my unsolicited advice to the world.
yeah,
Be critical thinkers.
yeah. Be wary. We've talked about before that belief stops all thought.
Right.
Belief is a thought killer, and
Yeah,
so
it's a line in the sand beyond which I will not think.
yep.
Belief.
And so believe nobody. Keep thinking.
Hmm. Absolutely.
You see one source, look for another one. Does it support it? Does it contradict it?
Hmm.
Look for a third. And
Right.
as much as your energy will allow you to do. But at the end of the day, we have an attack on democracy presented right before us.
Yeah.
Um, we have, for the first time in American history, we're having rights taken away,
Hmm.
regardless of if those rights impact you or not. We discussed in depth an attempt on the 14th Amendment already and the
Hmm.
implications that that has. It's an impotent executive order, but there's a person in the White House that is attempting to revoke rights granted by our lofty Constitution.
Hmm.
And we're having Supreme Court justices overturn long-standing precedents. And so I mean, if you can't afford the time to think on anything else, think about which person and slash party is actively removing rights. And then take a look at grocery prices as a metric. And
Hmm.
are they getting better, or are you just going to constantly keep believing that they are going to get better?
Right.
And
What's
then when
really
and then
happening in
and
front
then
of
when
your
they do
eyes?
get better, just a quick Google about why prices are getting better. Is it
Hmm.
because Trump signed an executive order, or is it because some 14-year-old scientist from New Zealand discovered a vaccine for the avian bird flu or whatever, the
Right.
avian flu?
Right.
Did Trump find that out or did somebody else fix it?
Right.
My dad, a longtime non-voter because of his voter exhaustion,
Hmm.
from the whiplash between Democrat and Republican. He got tired of it and admitted to me that he hadn't voted in 15 years because you bring in a Democrat, he fixes all the problems the Republican Party created, and then the Republican Party takes credit for all the
Hmm.
work the Democrats did, and then they come in, wreck it again, and then the cycle rinse and repeats. And so voter exhaustion is real, and I mean I get that, but
Yeah.
you know, it's difficult, but just it's not hard to see the surface and from the point of a rational person, see
Hmm.
which person is currently and actively pursuing fear and hate over progress and
Right.
tolerance.
Right. I agree. I
And
agree with every
so that's
word you
my
said.
so that's my bit. As far as the press goes, because I mean, I do a fair amount of Googling.
Hmm.
Most of it is for my own massive encyclopedia of useless, trivial knowledge.
Right. Yeah.
Because
Same.
it's exhausting reading about the latest marginalized group that has had their rights stripped from them and their identities uh, disavowed and erased, and that's exhausting
Hmm.
and incredibly depressing. And I can only take so much depression in a day, and
Yeah, exactly.
it's a mental
Same.
attack.
I'll escape into golden retriever videos
Yeah,
on YouTube,
we've all
on
got our own
Facebook, on
escapes.
Instagram. Everywhere that there is social media, there are golden retriever shorts.
Yeah, I mean everybody deserves a sanctuary
Yeah.
from this strange timeline we live in.
Yeah, for
This
real.
tumultuous timeline.
Yeah, yeah. All of our forebears who cursed us to live in interesting times, they did this to us.
Hmm. Yep. No, so I mean,
Made
I
we
think
live in
I think we have
interesting
covered the
times.
Trumpsterfire.
I think we
The
have.
first 2 weeks of it at least.
Right, the first 2 weeks. Like that's why it's exhausting. And we have 4 years of this potentially. So, mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll be on the lookout for if anything massively noteworthy takes place. You
Yes.
can expect another one of these videos.
Right.
Another one of these dun 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 breaking news videos. Um,
Right.
and you can expect our completely unsolicited stances on all of it.
Right. Right. And we'll
And
we'll try to give as many facts as we can and be as objective as we can. But,
but we are people. We are
we are
autodidacts.
people. We are people with opinions.
Yeah. And you know, it's more like, opinions on a fact aren't really what we're doing. It's more like, opinions on the stomping of facts,
Right.
like in the spitting in the face of facts
Hmm.
that seems to be, and the evasion of them
Right.
quite prevalent.
Yeah. I agree. But yeah, so this is Autodidactica. If you like this episode, you can check out all our other episodes. We've got shorts up. We've got we're a podcast, so we're on Amazon, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube. And yeah, if you like, subscribe, do anything to help us feel like
Special.
we're not screaming into the void. Yeah, like we're special enough to merit a response. Also, let us know what you think about this topic or any other topic that we tackle on Autodidactica. You can, like I said at the beginning, you can leave us an email at autodidacticapodcast@gmail.com, or if you're on YouTube, you can comment down below, and we will eventually will be we've been bad about it, but we do respond to comments either on the show, on YouTube, or both. So drop a line, let us know what you think. And I think that's it for this week, this episode, this special episode. This has been the Fascist Oligarchy special Trumpster Fire.
Yeah. And tune in next time to see where the fire has spread or if
Right.
it's been extinguished.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Choice of
but yeah,
words.
I know. It's always I never know how to end these things. I guess thanks for tuning in.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.